Welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Please silence cell phones and note that this meeting is being taped by FCTV. Any private party recording this hearing, if so, step up to the podium to request permission. I'll introduce the board and staff. On our far right is Mark Finneran, a voting member, and then Scott Peterson, a voting member, and to my right is Frank Duffy, our clerk. My name's Suzanne Murphy, chair. To my left is James Morse, vice chair. Then we have Tony Petrucci, associate. We have counsel George, I was going to say Haney because I'm reading, George Pucci. And then we have our zoning administrator Noreen Stockman and Ashley DeMello, our office assistant. The Zoning Board of Appeals is charged with applying the state zoning statutes as well as the town zoning bylaws and reviewing and voting on every application. All decisions are made through the public hearing process. Our goal is to hear testimony from the applicants and the public and to allow a full and fair decision of the project prior to closing the hearing and reaching a decision. Number one, to begin each hearing, the clerk will read the public announcement for the hearing and read pertinent information from the file. 2, the applicant or the applicant's representative will then have 15 minutes to make a presentation. Time may be extended by vote of the board. 3, the board will then question the applicant. And 4, the public will be invited to comment. Comments should be limited to 2 minutes and be strictly related to the proposal. All members of the public wishing to speak should wait to be recognized by the chair and should come to the podium. State your name and address for the record, and please speak into the microphone. It will not amplify your voice. And record audio for FCTV viewers. And we also have a moment now before we open up that if anyone has a public comment, something that's not on our agenda, you're welcome to come up and speak. Anybody for public comment? Okay, so we just came out of executive session for 357 Sandwich Road. 375 Sandwich Road, thank you all. And we voted on a modification to a decision. We had granted a comprehensive permit for the development of 300 residential units at 375 Sandwich Road in July. The developer then appealed and then agreed to mediation, which started in the fall of 2024. There were many months of meetings with the negotiating team, our counsel, George, and the developer. The appeal singled out the sidewalk, nitrogen from the wastewater treatment plant, and the use of town water. Through the negotiations, we were able to move the project up. We reduced the risk of having 900 units, and we have a sidewalk, which the town projected to be a cost of $1.2 million. Saxon will also be required to use best practices to discharge 3 milliliters on an annual average of nitrogen, which matches the town. Saxon will also contribute a one-time payment of $750,000 to aid the town's nitrogen reduction efforts. And then the developer must go to DEP. He already has started his process through DEP, but they must finish up. And that's what I have on that. And that's what we just completed. And the board voted unanimously in favor of the modification.
Okay.
Anything else?
If you just wanted to add that, that will then be filed with the Housing Appeals Committee to be
Yes, it will
issued
be
as an
filed
order.
with Housing Appeals.
And that the modification that you voted tonight will be made public as early as tomorrow morning.
Okay. Did everybody hear that? It will be made public. Okay. Great. So now we'll move on to our regular agenda.
And I'll say good night.
Yes. Thank you very much, George.
Thanks, George.
We have a continuation. It's 11924 Horn, 57 Carrot Shop Road. Not a continuation, a withdrawal. Requesting a special permit to allow boat storage, and they have a request for withdrawal. So I would entertain a motion on that.
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion to allow hearing 11924 Horn, 57 Carrot Shop Road to withdraw without prejudice.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to withdraw. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. And then we move on to JJEC Development, 4 Sandwich Road, which has already been opened. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chairman. For your record, I'm Bob Ament. This is a continued hearing. With me is Tom Bunker, right here. Eric Eskander, who has been at the previous meetings, was unable to be here tonight. He's from the applicant. It's been quite a while since we met on this, January 16. And we requested a continuance along the way because, frankly, we weren't sure that the project could go forward for financial reasons because of the increasing cost of construction. And in the course of the review of costs, the conclusion was that the project could go forward if it was affordable and subsidies that are available for affordable housing were made available. And to that end, we've had conversations with Kim Fish, the town's housing coordinator, and an application has been prepared and will be submitted to the Affordable Housing Fund. So the proposal now is for all 10 of the apartments, and they are rental apartments and would be permanently restricted as such, would be affordable. One at 80% of the median income for the area median income. 3 at 100% of AMI, and the rest at 120% of AMI. So that's a significant change. The impact of a project on affordable housing is a criteria specifically mentioned for the Board of Appeals to consider in considering a special permit application. And obviously, now there will be a significant beneficial impact for the town with 10 additional units, all of them to be on the SHI. In addition, since the last meeting, the Planning Board has issued about a month ago on March 7 its site plan review decision, a favorable decision under all the criteria that the Planning Board looks at with regard to the site. And the plans that have been filed with you, and I have the full set available to put on the screen, but I'm showing the landscape plan in part because it's prettier than the others. It's in color and shows the illumination from lighting. But this was all approved by the Planning Board under site plan review. And there were a number of changes, not all that significant, perhaps in the totality of the project, but a number of changes on the plans which are responsive to both concerns of the Board of Appeals that were raised and the Planning Board. And they include that the number of trees will be increased. We're now showing 92. I'm going to discuss with you a proposal that could increase those even a few more. And the play area shown on the plan in the northwest corner of the property has been reduced in size, and the fencing requested by abutters has been moved to be 15 feet within the property line, leaving a significant area that can be where vegetation will be saved, new trees can be planted, and more vegetation is possible. The parking arrangement has been improved. As you can see on the plan here, we now have angled parking and a one-way traffic flow so that cars leaving this parking would simply go around this island and go out. We've eliminated 2 parking spaces which were over here, which there was concern that they might interfere with the entrance to the site. Those have been eliminated. The existing aisle between the building below or this plan and this island is wide enough so that we're able to put 3 parallel spaces there if we need. So there still are 39 parking spaces, even with 2 parking spaces per apartment, there are 38 spaces required. We have 39, and we think that the parking is very generous. The engineering department of the town is pretty firm about their request that the granite curbing in Sandwich Road be extended all the way to the northerly property line. And so our plans now show that. The granite curbing will be extended all the way to the property line. A walkway leading from the apartments will lead to the street, and then access to a ramp with the typical handicap tactile pad, and the same on the other side. The sidewalk will be extended from the south, the distance up all the way up to the curb cut. So those are pretty much the changes that are shown on the plan. Every development obviously involves the removal of trees in most cases. Sometimes the site's already cleared. But every new house in town, every new driveway and street in town involves almost involves the removal of vegetation. And it's noteworthy, I think, that the criteria for special permits that's in the zoning bylaw does not specifically reference a criteria of saving trees or addressing wildlife concerns. That's not to say, obviously, those things are important, but the zoning bylaw controls development through such ways as lot coverage requirements. And in a business zone, and by the way, this property has been rezoned, I believe it was 1979. I have the 1979 zoning map with me. It was business zone property back then. For more than 45 years, this property has been zoned for business. And in a business district, impervious surface, that is paving, parking, and structures, is allowed in the zoning bylaw to be 70%. And the coverage by structures themselves is allowed to be 40%. In our case, we're nowhere near 70%. The coverage is 48.14%. And the structures, which is allowed to be 40%, is only 13.25%. So this isn't dense development in the business district. And yes, trees will be removed. And yes, there will be temporary and perhaps permanent impacts on wildlife. But we're going to put in 92 new trees, which will grow and become more and more important. And we have room to put in a lot more vegetation of shrubs and the like. And in some areas, they will grow themselves. I think it was the Planning Board. We've had a number of hearings, and it's hard to remember which, the Planning Board or the Board of Appeals. But I think the Planning Board proposed and suggested that we have a play area. And that's why the plan shows the play area. There probably will be some children who live there. That's speculative, but we proposed a play area. And then we reduced the size to increase the buffer from residential neighbors. We can eliminate that play area, subject to the Planning Board agreeing, because they've issued a site plan review decision that shows that. But I really leave it to the board to decide whether you want us to eliminate that and just leave as more of the woods, or revegetate more of that area, because some of it is where there'll be underground drainage structures. But that's a choice that can be made. Preserve more of that area as woods, or have the play area. And if the board thinks, despite the low lot coverage that we have, that we should have more trees and less play area, then I would suggest you make that a condition, but make it subject to approval by the planning board under site plan review, and we will then ask for it if that's your preference. There is open fields, play areas, sports fields behind the administration building, the school administration building just across the street. There are lots of reasons why a play area might be nice here, but I leave it to you to decide, in your opinion, what's most important. So the most important message we've given you is that this is an affordable housing project now. Even though it's under 40A, it's under, the density is only 5 units per acre. 6 is what's allowed in the business district. And we've made the changes I've described to, I think, make this a very good project. I'd be delighted to answer your questions.
Mark, you want to start off?
Yeah.
My opinion, and you can look at that and determine yourself, that this is just too congested. 6 units an acre is kind of a standard. If you take the portion of that lot where these 10 units are constructed, and I use the GIS polygram feature, and I size that off, and what you have there is about 31,228 feet, which is exactly 3/4 of an acre. And you are proposing to put 10 units there. That works out to 12.5 units per acre in a highly congested area, busy commercial use. I know these standards are very loose because the same amount of land could be a mom and pop corner store or whatever. This is a highly used, as I said, parcel. At 6 units an acre times 0.75 acres, you come up with 4.5 units per acre. I find this to be just too congested. I mean, not that the planning board has anything to do with us, but you just barely squeeze through there with a 3-2 vote. You also have the land out front, which is basically the front lawn, and I use the same polygon feature on the GIS to size that up, and I went straight across the front of the parking lot. I didn't go around the side or include any of that. But that uses up 0.29 acres of, what's this, a 2.1 acre lot? I'm sorry, I forgot.
2 acres.
2 acres. There's just, in my mind, you're trying to put 10 pounds of potato in a 5-pound potatoes in a 5-pound bag. I think it's just too congested and too many units. And when you consider there are going to be children there playing. Now, I brought up the fact that I've seen the traffic from Dunkin' Donuts out into Sandwich Road. And also I brought up the fact that you absolutely needed a curb there, which engineering agreed with. And you came back with an affidavit from Kelly Harris that she's supposedly reviewed all the films from December to April and saw none of that. But all that tells me is that this business is slow during the slow season. It does nothing to address the concerns I have with the traffic and the congestion. The bottom line is you're looking for 12.5 units an acre if you do the real math, and that's just too much for me. I mean, it's there. If you got 10 units on 3/4 of an acre, that's equal to 12 and a half units on a full acre. And it's with the business, the congestion and the traffic, it's too much for me.
Do you want to address?
Well, thank you, Madam Chairman. Well, first of all, it isn't 3/4 of an acre. It's 2 acres. And the zoning bylaw says for mixed use, it says commercial use plus residential use up to 6 units per acre. That's what the zoning bylaw says. If you talk about congestion, I'll go back and say it's 48% lot coverage when 70% lot coverage is allowed. The front yard is wonderful open space and very attractive. Why you wouldn't include that in the lot coverage calculation, I don't know. As I've told you before, the mixed residential commercial overlay district extends right up to the property line. So if it was on the other side of that line,
But it's
the
not.
density would be 20 units per 40,000 square feet, or about 21 something per acre. Yes, it's not in that district. But is it too dense for the neighborhood here instead of right next to it here? So, I mean, I understand your position. I disagree with it, of course. And I think that your position is not consistent with the zoning bylaw or the need for housing in town, affordable and otherwise, for rental housing in the business district, and this is a good location. And while you have said and said at the last hearing, implying recent visits to the store, that traffic was backed up to Sandwich Road. We didn't know then. Now we do know there's actually a security camera that proves that the traffic hasn't even backed up in that queue to where the proposed parking is, far away from the street. The operator of the Dunkin' Donuts disagrees that even in the summer that the traffic backs up, that the queue backs up to the street. What we do think happens, and we've said so, is that traffic backs up from the intersection at T-Ticket Highway and Sandwich Road. And that may interfere with access to the property. But that's a problem that is not exacerbated in any measurable amount by the proposal for housing. And at the end of the day, the benefits from creating this housing far exceed the speculative concerns that there could be adverse impacts. Thanks.
Scott,
Can I respond?
you want? Go ahead.
It's not a by right. I mean, you're still required to come to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Here we are.
The reality is that the housing is put on 3/4 of an acre of that parcel. It's a very busy parking lot. The land out front is open space, fine. I mean, it's a lot, but it still makes it all that much more congested. And this is the decision of the Zoning Board of Appeals. And when the rubber hits the road, you're putting 12.5 units on 3/4 of an acre. And I personally find it to be too congested with the business that goes on in that property.
If I could add one thing to that. You know, we could have built a single building. Theoretically, a single building with 10 units in it. And then you'd probably be saying you're building 10 units on 1/10 of an acre or whatever area it was. That's not the way we measure development and impacts and how much lot is being used. In every lot, every lot that has development in it, there's a certain amount that's covered by structures, a certain amount that's covered by paving and parking. That's what the zoning bylaw addresses. We're well below those figures in the bylaw. It is not a dense development. And again, the fact that the town allows by right 20-some units immediately next door is an indication that this is not an excessively dense development.
Can you put that picture back up?
Sure, if I can try. Not sure what's happened. There.
I think it speaks for itself with a
Okay.
busy
Well,
business
Do you want to
there.
look at the whole site or just a portion of it that shows the,
That's, as I said, that's where the rubber hits the road. And
well, obviously, we will disagree about that.
that's,
All right, Scott, what do you have for questions?
It's unfortunate, to your point. We have a 2-acre site, yet the housing itself is, 10 or 12 feet from that back lot line. That's the unfortunate part. You wish that the utilization could have been a little bit more uniform. I don't know that, did you ever discuss having the play area out front? I guess you would risk cars going by on Sandwich Road, but trying to give the abutters a little bit more protection, and you kind of offered that up when you first came to the podium.
My guess is we could do that.
I'm not sure if...
We haven't thought about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's the right thing to do with children and get them closer to Sandwich Road, but
Well,
abutters in buildings 4 and 5, I think you're only 10 or 12 feet off that lot line. Could you kind of elaborate? You also offered up the potential for additional screenings, for some additional plantings. And I
Right.
know that you're already at 92. Is there any way that you could get some more plantings along that back property line? Because the properties are getting pretty close.
Yeah, well, first of all, let me point out a couple of things, and I appreciate your comments. The zoning setback is 10 feet.
Agreed.
And although we have structure there, actually, we don't. We have patio that's shown.
Correct.
The buildings themselves, which can be 10 feet from the property line, are farther from the line.
I agree.
I'd also point out that abutting property is business-owned, and perhaps someday will be used for a business use, and somebody will want to take advantage of the same setbacks that are allowed in the zoning bylaw. There are a row of existing, I think they're arborvitae there. We can try to have more plantings, but we don't have a lot of room for it. There is room on the abutting property for more screening if somebody wanted. These buildings are very residential in nature. They are relatively small. They're not mansions. They are not 2.5 stories. People have to take into account that zoning property rights allows people to build on their property next to theirs. And we think we've done a good job in the design. Can we put more plants in? Yes, I'm sure we can find more room. We're already putting in 92 trees. Remember, there are 72 trees being removed. And yes, those are the larger trees, but these trees will grow up. And some of the trees that are being removed that count towards those 72 are probably towards the end of their life. I'm not an arborist, and we haven't, but I'm sure that's the case. So we're going to put a lot of trees back.
No, I think we heard that. That was some of the abutters' concern, that just like anything,
I have no
they're
doubt.
used to having that open space there, that's being taken away. So, again, what I'd like for the applicant and you to think through is there a way to get some additional screening? And that's just my point.
Yeah, let me just,
We can move on.
if I can, I'd like to just point out that, let me just show something. That's not the one I wanted. But this is. So here's the neighborhood. Here's the lot in question, and this is this wooded area that's really quite wooded now. Notice this dark area. These are trees that were planted, and they've become a substantial barrier. They were planted in connection with the conversion of the former bank into the Dunkin' Donuts. We're really proposing an awful lot of plantings along here, which are going to have the same impact as those in not too many years. But I also want you to notice how much the abutters who are concerned about the removal of trees on our business-owned property have removed the trees on their property. These areas show the open land all the way to the property line. We are providing a significant buffer. We've moved fencing, which can be allowed to be on a property line, and moved it in 15 feet. We can do more, but there's...
No, I appreciate the thought process.
And I point out that that all of the costs involved in the project, including the costs of landscaping, including the cost of the road, but mainly the cost of construction, of course, and materials today, have made this project unaffordable. To create housing, even on land you already own, can't be done without a subsidy. And so we're going to provide affordable housing, which we need.
We do need it.
Thank you.
Yep. I have no further questions.
Frank, have any questions?
Yes, just a comment. As the clerk, I'd just like to let everybody know that since the last hearing, we did receive another letter from Cynthia Rose, and she has concerns about wildlife and trees on the property, and if she's here, she can explain her details. But what is the breakdown of the units now? There are 10 units in 5 buildings. How many two-bedrooms, how many one-bedrooms?
They're all two-bedroom units, Mr. Duffy.
Originally, you applied for a couple of one-bedrooms, right?
Yes, we applied for 11 units.
Right. Okay.
And
Two-bedrooms?
they were not, there were a total of, I believe, 20 bedrooms in the 11 units. And now they're all duplexes. I'm sorry, they're all two-bedroom
Two bedrooms
apartments.
in 5 buildings?
That's correct.
Okay. I've heard the comments of some other members here about the density, and this is a mixed-use development where commercial and residential is allowed on the same lot. And looking at the bylaw, I think that while you're going to experience a greater density in a mixed use than in a single residence district, I think you have to look at the whole lot to determine the density, which includes the 2 acres. The play area, though, to me, it just doesn't look like it's a significant play area. It's very small. It's actually almost smaller than a house. I think you might personally be better off just converting it to screening. I don't think it's going to be very useful as a play area. Very small. Up there in the corner.
Well, we have no objection to that. And the expense of the greater fencing and so on, and any play yard equipment can be put into more shrubs.
I approve of play areas. I like them generally, but this one just doesn't look like it's going to amount to anything. So that's my comment.
Well, we don't have an objection to that. We don't want to be caught between the Planning Board and the Board of Appeals on the issue. I think that the Planning Board will probably go along with the elimination of that, even though it was their idea.
Okay.
What were the 2 votes, it was 3-2 vote in planning, what were the 2 people that voted against? What were their issues? Was the play area one of the issues?
I will tell you that I've been told by somebody who we would all trust, who talked to one of the people who voted that, there was a vote against it in part because the person thought that the project would be approved even without his or her vote. And was concerned about other projects in town and his or her position on those. So I don't think that person had a real concern about the project itself. And I don't know the reason for Mr. Leary's vote against the project.
Okay, and my other question is, you did no traffic study for this project?
Yes.
The one we have is 2016 for the dunks.
That's right. We had a discussion with the town planner, and the town planner agreed that it wasn't necessary for us to get a traffic study because the number of traffic trips under the ITE, and it's consistent with the operators' figures, was in the 250 trips per peak hour. Of course, that's in and out, so 125 customers. And the number of trips from 10 apartments is, under the ITE, would be 4.6 trips, and that's both in and out, although in the morning they would be mostly out. And the opinion of the town planner was that to do a traffic study to determine the impacts of these apartments was unnecessary, given that the primary traffic onto this site is existing and already approved. Now, a traffic study would cost in the neighborhood, the traffic study would analyze, how many trips are in Sandwich Road and what the turning movements are and so on. That would cost around $10,000. In my experience with this board, is that if we got a traffic study, even if it said there would be no significant impacts as a result of adding a number of apartments, if you think that there's too much traffic, it won't make any difference to you. So no, we did not get a traffic study for adding 4.6 trips per hour in the peak hour in or out of the site.
My concern is that we've approved this area is getting itself slammed with development. We've approved 300 not too far down the street, 40 not too far down the street. None of those calcs are included in any of this. So there's going to be a hell of a lot more traffic on Sandwich Road.
But the adding these 10 apartments won't make any measurable difference. Maybe it's measurable, but it's any significant...
To the commercial part of your project, it definitely will. Definitely.
I'm not sure what you're saying in terms of, are you talking about impacts on the area roadways, including Sandwich Road?
I'm saying that the 300 units and the 40 units and all the 40Bs and all the development that's on Sandwich Road, a lot of them might go to Dunkin' Donuts. And we have no calculations on that at all.
Well, the Dunkin' Donuts is approved. The Dunkin' Donuts exists.
But you're using the same driveway as Dunkies. Your people are parking in the same driveway as Dunks. I just think you could probably even do the calcs without hiring someone. Just like a rough calc, That's all. I just think it's going to be a lot of traffic. That's all. Jim?
So my initial concerns have been addressed initially through the site plan review of the planning board with the curbing along Sandwich Road, reconfiguration of the traffic flow, angle parking. I share Mr. Duffy's concerns. You have a rather large ball field across the street and a rather unsubstantial play area. I would rather see just additional screening for the neighbors if this is approved. I think most of my concerns actually have been addressed through site plan review, so thank you.
Cool. Tony?
I guess just a couple questions. You have a lighting and landscape plan, I think you had it up there earlier, and it shows the lighting for the front going into the parking lot, but I'm not sure it shows, because there'll be a concern about light trespass in the back, even though I know that's a business on the back, but the houses in the AG, what is it, the AGA district to the left. What are you doing? This will all be dark sky compliant lighting?
Yes, and the only lighting behind the units would be a light next to the door, as in any residential.
And I appreciate that. I just wanted to confirm it'll be dark sky compliant. And,
Yes.
And that, because it is, even though it complies with the zoning setback, I think it exceeds the zoning setback because you get patios that are really close to the setback. The houses are much further back. But I just want to confirm that. One of the things about parking, you're required to have 20 parking spaces dedicated to this project under the bylaw. Will you be reserving and assigning those parking spaces so that customers to the Dunkin' Donuts won't be parking in there?
Yes, I think so. Nobody wants to have more signs around a property than necessary. The residential spaces would logically be the spaces closest to these residences. They also happen to be the farthest away from the Dunkin' Donuts. And the operator thinks that there's plenty of parking for the restaurant, and we think that there's plenty of parking for the residences at 2 per unit. Remember, right next door in the mixed residential commercial overlay district, development will be allowed with only 1 space, by right, by the way, with 1 space per parking area. And the peak hours are different for the use of the spaces between residential and the commercial on this site. At least, I think that's the case. A traffic engineer
The reason I'm asking the question, the reason I am asking the question is because you're required to have them, and you can't lose them to some other use. And I understand what you just outlined, that the owner does not think they'll be used. But I would, because you are required to have the 20, you cannot lose them to others, and you can't have the homeowners parking on the other side of the Dunkin' Donuts drive-through. So my only suggestion is no more signs, no more signs, but maybe something on the pavement that says reserved for unit 1.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. I think that the developer can figure, the landlord, if you will, who's running, can figure that out. But if the board thought that it should require that the residential spaces, and I would suggest, if that's what you did decide, that designating at least 1 space per unit as dedicated to a particular unit.
But
And
then that would be in violation of the code.
it would not be in violation. We're providing the required parking, and
Throughout the entire property.
yes, and the zoning bylaw specifically refers to shared parking and allows parking reductions in situations like this. We haven't asked for that. We're providing more 39 spaces when only 38 are required.
I'm not disputing, I'm not arguing with you, but there would be no reason to request a reduction because you have the spaces. All I'm saying is that you need 20 spaces, you certainly have the space for all of them, plus the Dunkin' Donuts, 18 for the Dunkin' Donuts, 20 for the houses, just that it might make a lot of sense to this board that at least they be reserved on the pavement, not signs, for those units, and they don't go to customers. And I get it.
I think we could do that because we're confident that even with 2 spaces per unit, we have plenty of spaces for the Dunkin'
And I
Donuts.
believe you're right on that, absolutely believe that.
Thanks.
With regard to landscaping, I think that's been brought up. My concern about the play area, this is a very, very busy area. I'm worried about children having a place to be there. I think that you can, my opinion is, you can still have just a play area. It doesn't have to have swings. It has to be a place where children can congregate as far away from Sandwich Road as possible. But I can see plenty of places where you could add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you could add 10, 12 additional trees, not arborvitae's too thin, but trees. But I think you can do both. I don't care if the parking at the play area is there as this board member, but I'd like to see the screening for the folks on Trotting Pond Road and in the back there, even though that's a business-owned area. So as far as landscaping is concerned, I would certainly hope this board requests just a little bit more in that corner area. May I go on, Madam Chair?
Yep.
All right. I just want you to confirm for me, we work with very little plans. I need a magnifying glass actually to see them. Will you just confirm for me, when you're up against the AGA zone on Trotting Pond Road, you have to maintain a 25-foot distance from that zone? Is that the case? Can the engineer?
Yes.
Okay, so that's
Yes.
confirmed. Can you just remind this board that how you've complied with 247.2B, paragraph B in the Coastal Pond Overlay District regarding the reduction of nitrogen in that area? And I think you're doing it with IA systems, nitro. So that's still in the plan?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll do the best I can.
Well, just that if you confirm that is being done, that you are complying with 7.2B.
Well, as has been pointed out at the previous hearing, the nitrogen loading per acre is going down. The total amount of nitrogen is a bit more because there's so much more development. But we are putting in a denitrification system, the most expensive and the best. And we're going to connect the Dunkin' Donuts store to it to do the best that we can. I've discussed the nitrogen loading situation with the town planner. And I pointed out that when the zoning bylaw recodification was done a couple of years ago, significant portions of the coastal zone overlay district bylaw were omitted in error, including the section, what was 240-100, which talks about strategies to be required if you're in the high-quality areas, that is where the goal is to maximize protection of the water body, in this case, a great pond. We are not in what was the high-quality area because of our distance from the pond, but nonetheless, what the bylaw said, and it was not changed, was not intended to be changed by town meeting because no substantive changes were intended. It said that when you're in a high-quality area, remember, we're not in a high-quality area, but even if we were in a high-quality area, one should reduce the number of units that can be required. And we've done that from 6 to 5. It also says that the application may be required to install a septic system certified for denitrification. But perhaps most important, it says the reviewing board may limit any project in the Coastal Pond Overlay District to wastewater discharge total systems operated and maintained by a licensed wastewater operator, and the standard is 12 milligrams per liter or less. And that's the standard. I think I said square acre, but it's per liter. And we're now at 5.04, if I recall that correctly, compared to 12. So we've complied, in our opinion, by doing denitrification. And keep in mind that most of the recharge area for Great Pond is to be sewered. Shame on me, but I don't know that town meeting passed that, but I assume that they did. They did. It's going to be sewered.
I think that I understand what you're saying. I just wanted to make sure that you were telling this board that you're complying with that section.
We can't do better. The sewer comes right up to our property, and we can't connect to it.
We have learned so much about nitrogen in these past several months, so Madam Chair, one last question.
One last one.
You're one of the preeminent land use attorneys in this town, so I want to ask you your opinion about section 240-12.1F, subparagraph 1 on page 129, if you have the zoning book there. And that has to do with guarantee performance bonds.
Sure.
Where you have 20 or more parking spaces, the bylaw says the board, the special permitting board shall require this, that you put up a performance bond. I have a little bit of a debate going on right now about this, but 240-12.1F says the SPGA, Special Permitting Granting Authority, shall require that construction site alteration permitted, so forth and so forth, be secured by, and it goes on. Just because you do this all the time, what is your opinion of that? Because it will cost your client money.
Thank you. We practice land use law all the time, too much of the time, I would say. But that doesn't mean that every day we address every issue that can come up. And when you raised this issue in January, I told you I would want to check. And of course I did. And as you have said, the bylaw requires a performance guarantee for a project involving 20 or more parking spaces. And if a performance guarantee is required, there are two choices. One is to post some money or post a bond. And the other one is to execute a covenant and record it at the Registry of Deeds. And all the covenant says is that construction will be completed before the buildings may be eligible for an occupancy permit. We don't have much of a problem in complying with a requirement that there be a covenant. Question: does this case require 20 parking spaces, 20 new parking spaces? We're eliminating 8 seats from the Dunkin' Donuts and therefore reducing the required parking by 8. We're only increasing the required parking by 12. I don't think the bylaw tells us clearly the answer to that. I also think that it just doesn't matter to the town. We can't get an occupancy permit for a building. We can't get a building permit until the zoning administrator signs off that we've done everything we need to do from pre-construction. And we can't get an occupancy permit until the, hope that's not me. If it is, tell them I'm busy. We can't get an occupancy permit until the zoning administrator signs off. A covenant does nothing more to protect the town. And we, of course, have to have recorded the special permit. A covenant between the recording fees for putting it on record, perhaps recording a partial release somewhere along the line, recording a final release, the attorney's fees involved in drafting it, in drafting the release of it, drafting a partial release, dealing with the town. A covenant's going to cost $1,500, $2,000, maybe more, to provide this. We can do it. We can do it. Just record a document. It says we can't have an occupancy. But I think that this is a case where it's not clear. The board doesn't need to do it. And I would ask that you not require it. That's all.
One last thing I'll just say, thank you I appreciate the words shall require. There's no, hey guys, think about it for a little bit. It says shall.
Yeah, if we're adding 20 parking spaces.
And you are.
No, we're not.
Oh.
We're adding 12.
I just needed enough to be able to have a discussion with the board. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. No, I
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other further questions up here before we go to the public?
Also,
I have a quick one. Will you show me the handicap spots? Will you show me the handicap spots? I don't have my magnifying glass.
Yes, I can see the handicap spot right there. Do you see it? Can you see it?
Yeah.
I'm right on it.
It's just not marked on my plan.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's handicap spots in front of the...
So only one?
I think that meets the requirement.
There's one in the Dunkin' Donuts.
Yes, there's one at the residences, and
So
there's
only
one.
one for all the apartments?
Yes, that meets
Okay.
the state's requirements. And
Okay. That's all I had.
Thank you.
Everybody else is all set up here? We'll go to the public? Anybody from the public want to comment on this? Come on up. You have 2 minutes to speak. Name and address, please.
Good evening, Kathleen Crowley Braga, 63 Deepwood Drive. I'm more surprised to be here this evening than what you are, because I didn't know about something else that was taking place earlier this evening that I'm not going to speak of specifically, but I got lots of phone calls. Better get down to Town Hall, find out what's going on, and I just want to say this as a public comment. I love the town of Falmouth. I moved from the city 7 miles north of Boston to come here. Met my husband, raised 2 wonderful boys. I'm now a grandmother. Worked in a local school district. My husband is a tradesman. I love the town of Falmouth. I feel so strongly we need to have affordable housing in this town. But at the cost of what? I just left Boston, a suburb of Boston. And as I drove over the Bourne Bridge, you're supposed to have that feeling like, and then I drove into the city of Falmouth. It's not a town. It's a city. I don't recognize Main Street. I don't recognize the place that I wanted to invest my children's future. I don't recognize it. And it makes me really sad now that I have a granddaughter, that this is what she thinks it's supposed to look like. And her family's from the inner city. Very rude to do this at a meeting, so I'm not trying to be rude. I moved to the house that I live in with my husband because I got a little mud on my boots, because I wanted a little country. I live on Deepwood Drive, which is off Sandwich Road. We have friends from Maine that came to visit, and I would like to share this with you specifically about your Dunkin' Donuts. It was kind of funny, but not so funny. Our dear friend wanted coffee at 4:30 in the morning. He texted me. I said, I'll get up, I'll go get it for you because I don't have a coffee maker, it broke. He says, well, he's from down East Maine. He goes to the end of Deepwood Drive. You can take a left and go to Dunkin' Donuts. You can take a right and go to Dunkin' Donuts. You're not going to get lost. Come out of Deepwood, take a left down Sandwich Road, you'll end up at a Dunkin' Donuts on the corner of 151 and Sandwich Road. Come out of Deepwood, take a right, go through the Brick Road extension, and it'll end up at another Dunkin' Donuts by the school administration building. I understand that there was not a traffic study done, and you had made comment about 2016. I can tell you in my experience from living in this town, or city as I'm going to call it now, in the 9 years since that date, you can't tell me that traffic has not increased, because it tenfold has. It's unbelievable to me you can't get down Sandwich Road. But most importantly, not my convenience or anyone's convenience that lives in this town, having an extra 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes to get to work, to get to school. I want to talk about for 1 second, and then I'll sit down, safety on Sandwich Road. I drive Sandwich Road every single day, coming in and out of Deepwood Drive. Sometimes I go around the back way by the high school that puts you by Jenkins Pond, all these little shortcuts. I see so many people struggling on bicycles to get down Sandwich Road. And they're coming from Brick Hill Road and Sandwich Road intersection, and they're going up towards Deepwood being on your left, which would be past 375 Sandwich Road. When you're coming out of Deepwood and you take a right and go through the intersection, you go to the Dunkin' Donuts that you're proposing to build this at, have you ever been when there's a big storm and you can't get through because it's flooded?
You're going to have to wrap it up, okay?
It's flooded there.
Yep.
And the last concern that I do have, there is a woman that walks all the time. People know who she is. She was walking today. And this is fact, because I was driving out of town to go to Boston. I was driving up, took a right from Sandwich Road onto Brick Hill Road, right in front of the dog park. And this woman was pushing a baby in a carriage. And I, to try to be considerate as a fellow parent and a human being, I have a big SUV. I pulled out a little bit just to give her a little more space. She was on a sidewalk. On a sidewalk. There's no sidewalk on Sandwich Road when you get from the intersection up past where Deepwood is. And now you have very little sidewalk space and only one side that's really accessible from where you're talking. Never mind if you have this playground. What's to say kids across the street around the corner don't want to run over and play? I just think that, I don't know what's happening, but it's very, very sad to me that I live in the city of Falmouth. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to come up and make a comment? Come on up. Name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Lori Lopes, and my address is 35 Trotting Park Road. I'm an immediate butter. And I would just wanted to thank the board this evening for everything that you took into consideration for the neighbors. We really appreciate it. You made some really good, very good, I think, progress, and I just want to say thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody else have anything further up here? I think we're in good shape.
Just want to add, to go along with what she said, it's a very dense area. Sandwich Road is on the town's wish list. That intersection, the town wants, well, they determined that they don't want a roundabout there. They want a T with a full stop at, it's just extremely congested, and so's the Dunkin' Donuts, and I'm not wavering. I think this is too dense, too congested. Look at that fifth building. I mean, you fall out of the building, you're in the drive-through. I think it's just too much.
Okay. Anybody else up here? Shall we close? Anybody want to make a motion to close?
Make a motion to close with discussion.
I'll second.
We have a motion to close in a second. Any discussion, further discussion? Anything else from the applicant before we close? Real quick.
This site is right next to Main Street. If we're going to have affordable housing, it's probably going to be, should be in areas like this. We shouldn't be. Here's an alternative to 100-unit, 3- and 4-story buildings. Here's an alternative to 300-unit projects. We talk about encouraging owners of business property and businessmen themselves to include some affordable housing. This seems like the kind of project we should be approving.
All right. So we have a motion to close in a second?
Yeah.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. All right. Another motion?
If there's no additional discussion, then I'd say motion to approve with conditions.
I have I'm sorry, before we act on that through you, Madam Chairman, through you to the zoning administrator, this project under 40A with the legislative change a few years, it just require a simple majority because it's affordable housing now? There was a legislative change, I recall, about economic development of projects. I just want to make sure if this qualifies or not.
So the affordable housing is now proposed. It was not applied for as affordable housing. It hasn't been voted, so.
It's technically not affordable housing yet.
No, I understand. I just procedurally, if this was still required, a supermajority or a simple majority.
Yeah, so I guess the question here is that based on the application that was submitted, it wasn't applied for as affordable housing. They're proposing that it be affordable housing. They've applied for funds.
120%, does that have something to do with it?
Right, but I think the problem I would have is in the details where.
What if we put a condition on that it's affordable housing?
It's not approved yet.
Right, but it wasn't specifically
Well, if we put
applied for
But
as
if we put a
affordable
condition on it's
housing.
affordable housing, then they have a problem of getting the funding. Otherwise, they don't have a project.
Yeah,
I like.
yeah.
Is that okay with you, Joe? Does that make sense to you?
Oh, no, just, yeah, that's fine. Condition is fine. Thank you.
So finding?
Did we get an answer?
No.
No, we're going with your answer.
Oh.
Your counsel.
I made the motion to approve with conditions. Was there a second? I just wanted, because Jim needed.
I'll second. And now we'll do findings.
Well, okay. Okay, this is a project at 4 Sandwich Road by JJEC Development LLC it's a modification of an existing special permit 08316. It's under 246.2B and 240.12.1 for 10 apartments in 5 duplex buildings, all to be 2-bedroom units. The zoning is B2. It's in the Great Pond Coastal Pond Overlay District and Flood Zone X. The previous decision of the Board of Appeals, as I just recited, was 083-16 for Dunkin' Donuts, the fast food restaurant at the site. The lot contains 86,827 square feet and conforms to zoning. The frontage conforms to zoning. Sandwich Road at this location is a public right-of-way. Lot coverage by structure exists at 3.48%. It's going to be increased to 13.25%. The limit is 40. Lot coverage by structure, parking, and paving is 32.69%. Be increased to 48.14%. The limit is 70. The restaurant, which currently has 26 parking spaces required, will be reducing the number of seats inside so that the parking requirement of the restaurant is reduced to 18. There'll be a total of 39 parking spaces. The septic system, the owner has informed the board that there will be a D-night septic system for the entire property, which includes all 5 residential buildings and the restaurant. The project otherwise conforms to zoning in terms of setbacks and building height requirements. The board received comments from a detailed comment which was sent to the Board of Appeals and the Planning Board for site plan review. From engineering, the Board of Health has advised us that they have approved alternate technology system for the entire property. That took place on September 16, 2024. Conservation had no issues. The Planning Board completed site plan review and approved it in March of 2025. The Water Department has advised us that they want separate water services for each residential unit. The Building Department has advised us to require directional signs for the drive-in queue. Fire Department has no comment. There was one letter of opposition, and there were testimony in opposition at the hearing. With respect to sections 246.2B, in a business B2 district, residential and commercial mixed use are permitted by special permit for the residential component, with the provision that there be not more than 6 units per acre. As far as the special permit itself is concerned, we are able to make the determination that the site is adequate for the proposed use because there is 2 acres. The suitability of the site, while not ideal, is nevertheless not unsuitable for the project. There will be some impact on traffic flow and safety, but we can determine that it will be manageable. There'll be no impact on the neighborhood visual characters, views, and vistas. There's adequate sewage disposal as evidenced by the denitrification system approved by the Board of Health. There are adequate utilities, and with the condition of affordable housing for the 10 units, the project will advance the supply of affordable housing.
Did you get Great Pond Coastal?
Yes.
You did that one?
Yeah.
Did you get the height?
Yep. Well, that's not an issue.
Okay. All right.
Isn't there, if I may, Madam Chairman, through you, do we have to make a finding, Frank, that the public good is served, that the business zone is not adversely affected through the multifamily use, and that the business use allowed is not noxious to family use?
Fine, we can do that. I'd adopt that.
Okay. Are we ready to vote?
Yep.
Conditions?
Do you want to vote first or do conditions first?
Don't we usually do conditions?
Conditions first. Let's do conditions first. Where's that list? Rental only is a condition.
And then as he pointed out, that there are going to be 10 units in 5 buildings, one at 80%, they're affordable, all will be affordable. They're going to apply for funding from the town, which will result in the units being affordable, one at 80% of AMI, 3 at 100% of AMI, and the balance, which would be 6 units, I think, at 120% of AMI. All units should be included in the subsidized housing inventory. The planning board has approved site plan review in March of this year. The planning board approved 92 trees on the property. There are 39 parking spaces, 2 handicapped. There are other conditions I think we should include in the conditions, all the conditions of the site plan review, so I don't have to repeat them.
All boards.
Yeah,
Consult with police for traffic
yep,
during construction.
yep,
Construction hours,
yep,
Monday through Friday, 7 to 7, Saturday, 8 to 4.
yep.
No construction on Sundays or town-observed holidays. Construction vehicles located on the lot, not in the street, dark sky compliant. Tony, did you want to add in the one about the bond?
I would propose that one of the conditions be under 240-12-1 is in fact that they file a covenant, which would be subparagraph B of 240-12.1 as the applicant's attorney
Okay.
outlined.
Yeah, fine.
You okay with that
Yeah.
one? You have any?
I didn't know how we wanted to finalize the play area. Did we want to remove the play area?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. I'd rather, those trees over there are beautiful, and I'd rather save the trees myself.
Right.
Is,
I don't find the play area to be particularly useful or attractive, but,
yeah,
Keep the kids out of the parking lot.
well, I don't really know how many kids are going to be living there, but the play area is smaller than one of the houses. It's not even big as half a basketball court.
I understand that as
If-
well. That's because, as I said, the whole thing's so congested.
If they determine to maintain what they're calling a play area, it's just a gathering area, there are no swings, so there'd be no play articles, no swings, no slides, things of that nature.
maintenance, yeah.
No maintenance, and if they remove trees, that they add an additional 4 or 5 evergreens along the property lines. But I think that this place needs a place for children to gather if they do. The traffic is just too much on Sandwich Road. That's my thought.
Well, I guess I would like to say that remove the play area. There's 18 trees that are shown that abut on lots 7 and 8. If we could increase that to 28. So remove the play area and increase the plantings along lot 7 and 8 from 18 to 28.
Yeah. I agree with that.
So if you want the play area removed, would that stay natural? So the
Natural,
trees that are
correct.
existing
Leave
there
the
would
trees.
be maintained?
That's what I would like.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Jim?
Any other conditions up here? Noreen, do you have any other conditions? No other structures, other than what's shown per plans? Did we already say per plans?
Do we have something early on about there being sheds?
There are sheds.
There are sheds on here, on the
Fine,
plan.
okay.
I have something about, it says
Yep.
condition the dumpster, and I don't know why I wrote that one. So I
That's
can't
that's
condition
in the
the
middle
dumpster.
of the project.
That was down here.
That's somewhere else.
So
To
we're
be
all,
used by the rest of the...
yeah,
You all set, Noreen?
we're all set? Noreen, you good?
Yeah.
Everybody's all set? We're all set to vote? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye.
Nope.
No,
3.
4-1. Or
3-2.
3-2, whatever, okay.
All set? All right, now you need some folders, Frank.
Okay. What are we dealing with?
We're doing Whittier first.
Whittier.
It says Metzdorf.
All right, let's find our,
Let's find our stuff. Let there be light.
okay, this is,
Hello, we're moving on to the next hearing.
this is hearing 00925, Martha Murphy, Metzdorf, 17 Whittier Road, East Falmouth, Massachusetts. They've applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit pursuant to Section 24011.3A4 of the Code of Falmouth to remove the existing deck, construct a screened porch, add an addition to expand the first and second floor habitable space, and an attached garage exceeding lot coverage by structure beyond 20%. Property is 17 Whittier Road in East Falmouth. The zoning district is RB. The overlay district is a combination of Great Pond and Green Pond coastal overlay districts. The existing structure is 1,434 square feet. The proposed structure is 2,386 square feet. There's no flood zone here, although I think there is no flood zone?
No.
No flood zone. We didn't find any previously existing zoning board of appeals decisions with respect to the property. The lot is 10,000 square feet in a zoning district that currently requires a minimum of 40,000 square feet. The street frontage is 100 feet in a district which requires the same. Whittier Road is a public right-of-way at this point. Lot coverage by structure presently is 14.34%. It's proposed to increase it to 23.86%. The limit is 20, and they need a special permit to go over 20 with a maximum allowed by the bylaw of 25%. The lot coverage by structure, parking, and paving is 20.37%. Proposal is to increase it to 33.05%. The limit of the bylaw is 40%. This is a four-bedroom property. I note that they submitted a worksheet of lot coverage by structure, but I didn't see on that worksheet an average for the neighborhood, that's what we used for our decision. So I leave it to the board to decide if that is incomplete. The setbacks, the street is 25.8 feet, which is compliant with the zoning bylaw, and the other setbacks comply with the zoning bylaw. What we're dealing here with is increasing the lot coverage by structure. The building height is 20 feet per plans. It'll be 19 feet 8 inches. We have a referral from engineering. They note that a driveway permit may be necessary. They require that we look at stormwater runoff, dry wells for roof runoff, and erosion and sediment controls. The Board of Health is okay with the septic system. Conservation's okay. The Water Department recommends a upgrade of the water service to 1 inch. I think it's actually more a request to comply with current standards. Planning Board has no comment. Fire Department has no comment. The Building Department has no comment. I found no letters in opposition on the file.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to have a good night tonight. My name is Brian Bork. I'm here in representation of Mr. Metzdorf. Just wait for somebody to make it. As Mr. Duffy went over, that pretty sums up the project. I can repeat the same stuff, but I don't think we need to. I did pull this up because you brought up the question, is this what you're concerned with, is an average
Did you have an average on there?
I did not. I can compute that, though, obviously, and
Well, that's
get
what
that.
we use is the average. That's the standard we have to comply with. So I think that may have to be submitted additional information.
You can just submit it later, though. I
All right,
think.
fine.
Yeah, whatever you'd like, I can do the calculations and submit it. I can do it this evening. I'll submit it later. So, okay. Well, again, we have, I think the easiest, let me get this to work here.
Tell us what's coming down and what's going up.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The easiest way to do that, I'm just trying to get it on the screen here, is on this plan.
The bylaw says that when we're increasing lot coverage over 20% to 25, we look at the size and height of the structure relative to the neighborhood average. That's why we have.
Oh, no, understand, Mr.
Okay.
Duffy, that's fine. I have no problem whatsoever. And adding that, I mean, it's all there with the percentages. It's
Right,
just,
fine.
it's Excel. All I can do is hit the cells and say divide by the number. It's going to pop it up for me. So that's perfect, not a problem. So I think this is the easiest representation, hopefully, to show what's there. This is what I submitted to the land surveyor so he could do the site plan. So you can see here we have the existing house. In this area right here, this small square is an existing structure. It's a sitting room. And then in back here, this is all existing deck. So we're removing the small sitting room, and this becomes the addition right here with a garage space to incorporate this. This addition here is not in a basement because of its proximity to the septic system. So we have to keep it back 20 feet from the septic field. So this is all addition with a small screen porch and then a farmer's porch up front. So if I can get rid of this guy here, oops. And this is represented on the site plan by Mr. Doyle. The existing, the addition, this part with the basement, this part on piers, this to be the garage, the screen porch, and the farmer's porch. So, so here's the front elevation, and you can see the main structure on the right side here, and then this is how the addition will tie into it. And we believe that this addition to be, very in line with the neighboring community, such that we don't feel it be more detrimental to the area. The Metzdorfs did send out a group email to their neighbors, and there was favorable response from the neighbors. They sent the plans, and a lot of the comments were just, we can't wait to see it. It's going to look great in the neighborhood. So there was no objection amongst the neighbors. I have a few emails I can forward if the board would like them. So, as David Martha, plan on coming down here full-time to live in Falmouth, this will, project to them is going to fulfill the potential of this property, for the rest of their enjoyment down here, in later life. So I have all the plans here. If you guys have any questions, I can make that correction for the bulk calc sheet. Again, not a problem.
Mark, you want to start off?
It's understandable what they're doing. It's a nice project. I certainly think there's plenty of room. It's a good-sized lot for the neighborhood. I really don't have any questions.
Thank you.
Onward and upward.
No further questions.
Thank you.
No, I went out and took a look at the property. It's very nice. I think this will be an appropriate enhancement. I'm in favor of it.
Yeah. Is the height 19 feet 2 inches?
Yeah, but it conforms to the 35, but it's kind of funny because I think
Yeah, I had a hard
it's going to
time.
be a little bit lower than the existing building, which is hard to believe.
Yeah.
It's going to be, the way it worked out with the pitch and the math, because it's actually less, it ends up being 4 inches lower than the existing roof line or something like that.
Okay, all right.
So what's the actual height then?
Can I zoom on this? Or
20 feet, 6 inches.
20 feet 6?
Yes.
Well, thank you, Noreen.
The plus at the bottom right-hand corner, I think that'd do it.
19.8 and a half.
Oh, I see it, thank you.
19.8 and a half is what it's going to be.
Got to hold it, right?
So we're going to go with 20.26? Is that what you, 20 and 6 inches?
20 feet, 6 inches. Yep. So 20.5.
What's 20 points? What's the existing or the proposed?
Existing.
Oh, yeah, so, but it's the, okay.
Proposed is 19.8.5, isn't it?
That's what I had.
Yes.
Yes.
I use a magnifier, too.
19, 8.5.
Pretty confusing.
Yep.
I'm blind in one eye, can't see out of the other.
I got my glasses on and I'm still having trouble reading them, so I'm right there with you.
All right, Tony, you have any questions?
I think it fits well. I just, quick question is, you're utilizing the pre-existing septic system?
Let me pull that up for you. Jeez. So this is the existing site plan here, and we are putting in a new system, right? John's designing a new system.
I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
No, he's using the existing, sorry. Yeah, he's using the existing system, correct.
How are you using the existing?
Yep.
Then I cannot ask you, I'm not going to go through my normal,
Yes,
are you
yeah.
putting an IA system in?
No, it's an existing system, and the actual bedroom count is not changing. We're removing one bedroom from the main house, and that's going above the
Well, I
garage.
just wanted to be consistent. I asked
Yes.
everybody this, and you're using an existing system.
Yes, no, absolutely, understood, yep. And no change to the bedroom, I just wanted to add that note.
You want to confirm that there's 4 bedrooms, is that what you're saying?
No, I know for 100%. There's no change to the count.
Gotcha.
That looks good to me. Anybody have any further questions up here before we go to the public? Anybody from the public want to speak on this project? Come on now. We need entertainment, come on.
To say as a homeowner, if it's okay.
You'd have to come up.
Come on up.
Okay, hang on. I'll just do it quick, sorry.
You're the homeowner?
Yeah, my wife's away, it's her birthday. But we've been here 31 years, and we just love the town. So our kids are, hopefully get married someday soon. And
Going away?
yeah, but that's all. I just want to say we love it here. We come down here, yeah, we're here. We're going to be here full time, and so thank you. That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
Motion to close.
There you go. Second?
Second?
There you go. We have a motion to close in a second. Any further discussion up here? All those in favor of closing? Aye.
Have I been appointed?
You have.
Aye.
Thank you. I didn't anoint you properly.
Motion to approve the conditions.
Second that.
Conditions.
There we go. So let's do findings. Repeat again, Frank, right?
17 Whittier Road in East Falmouth is located in an RB zoning district. They've applied for a special permit under Section 240.11.3A4 of the zoning bylaw to remove a deck, construct a screened porch, and have an addition with second-floor habitable space and attached garage exceeding lot coverage by structure over 20%. There's no flood zone. They're in the Great Pond and Green Pond coastal pond overlay districts. The existing structure is 1,434 square feet. The proposed structure is 2,386 square feet. I've given you the lot size, which is 10,000 square feet, and it's a buildable lot, but the current zoning requires 40,000 square feet. Street frontage conforms to zoning, public right-of-way. The lot coverage by structure will increase to 23.86%. The limit is 20, so the special permit, which we're granting tonight, will allow the increase in lot coverage by structure. The lot coverage by structure, parking, and paving is within limits of the zoning bylaw. The setbacks are within limits of the zoning bylaw, or the height of the building is, and as existing and proposed, is within the limits of the zoning bylaw. I read the reports from the referrals from the departments. We had no opposition at the public hearing, and there were no letters on file. Under Section 240.11.3A4 of the zoning bylaw, which allows a maximum of 25% lot coverage by structure, when we make a finding that the site size and height of the proposed structure is relative to the neighborhood average, which Mr. Bork is going to confirm, that there are no shadows that will affect adjacent property, the views and vistas from the public ways are not impaired, and there'll be no adverse effect of nitrogen on coastal embayments. With respect to special permit conditions, find that the site is adequate for the proposed use, the site is suitable for the proposed use, there's no negative impact on traffic flow and safety, there's no negative impact on neighborhood visual character, views and vistas, there's adequate sewage disposal, there's adequate utilities for the site, and there'll be no negative impact on the supply of affordable housing.
Nice. All right. Conditions. So we'll have him shoot an email with the comp sheet
Yeah.
to Noreen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That can be a condition. All right, let's do, that can be the first condition.
Fine.
You got
I
that,
have it
Noreen?
written
Did
down.
you hear me? Okay. And then we'll use Tony's worksheet. Per plans, all boards, driveway permit, construction hours, dark sky, lighting. We didn't ask about lighting in the back. Dark sky lighting. What are our percentages? Did you get the building height in? We already talked about that in the findings.
The building height is...
20 feet, 6 inches.
Yeah, you got that though, Larry? Anybody think of any
I
other?
read it in the
Yeah.
original plans.
Yeah. Anybody think of any other conditions?
Dry walls per plans.
Yeah, I
and
did per
No
plans.
further structures.
No further structures, there's a good
Do you
one.
have construction vehicles on site?
All construction vehicles within the lot, not on the street. The hours of op, 7 AM to 7 PM, Monday through Friday, 8 through 4 on Saturday. No Sundays or town observed holidays.
Engineering requested erosion and sediment controls and a construction entrance, so the plans will need to be revised to show that. So the abutting properties are protected from any stormwater.
No, absolutely, we'll put up a silt barrier, especially at the
We're doing
street
a lot of
because it's pitched.
So they'll just want that demonstrated on the site plan so that they can verify that.
Yeah, 100%, I'll have John add silt barriers on there, and I'll also have
That's
him
next.
show some proposed drainage also.
Good? We're good. I think we are. All ready to vote up here?
Ready?
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Tony? You in?
I'm in.
5-0. You're all set.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you very much for your time, you guys have a great evening.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Enjoy.
Enjoy.
All right, next up is nursery, 151 Nursery.
Okay, this is application 011-25, Michael McGow, 70 East Falmouth Highway. Was applied to
The wrong one,
the
Frank.
Board of Appeals.
You're on the wrong one.
What?
You were reading in 5 Indiana.
Yep, I know. What happened to my,
I'm looking. Your sheets? Did I mess you up?
oh, here's Nursery Road, I got them out of order, sorry.
I messed them up. I tried to get
I
it
knew
ready
it was
for
your
him.
fault.
That's on me. It's on me.
Okay, this is application 01025. Robert A. and F. Newton have applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit pursuant to section 240-10.2A and 240-11.3A4 of the Code of Falmouth to remove the existing deck, construct an addition and attached garage, increasing lot coverage by structure. The property is located at 151 Nursery Road in Falmouth. Okay, the property's in an RC zoning district. The applicable provisions of the zoning bylaw are sections 240-10.2A and 240-11.3A4. The existing structure is a three-bedroom structure at 2,227 square feet. The proposed structure is a four-bedroom at 2,659 square feet. There's no applicable overlay district, flood zone X. There's no previous decisions of the Board of Appeals on file. The lot is 11,074 square feet in a zoning district that currently requires 40,000 square feet. Street frontage is 85 feet in a zoning district that currently requires 100 feet. Nursery Road is a public right-of-way at this particular location. The current lot coverage by structure exceeds the zoning bylaw. It is 20.1%. The resulting, after the work is done, will be 24%. The limit is 20, so they need a special permit to exceed the 20, also to confirm the existing one. They have submitted a worksheet which shows that the neighborhood average of lot coverage by structure is 14.68%. The lot coverage by structure, parking and paving is 27.4%. It will be increased to 33.2%. The limit is 40, so they're within that. The property conforms to zoning in terms of setbacks, and it is 21.3 feet setback from the street. No. Is it 21 foot?
It is. So its front yard setback's not conforming, but otherwise can.
Front setback's not conforming. It's 21.3 feet. And it will remain at 21.3 feet. Okay. The building height conforms to zoning. We have a report from the engineering department suggesting that we consider stormwater runoff, dry wells for roof runoff, and erosion and sediment control. The Board of Health has advised us that they have approved the plans for a 4-bedroom septic system. The Conservation Commission has no comment. The Water Department requests an upgrade to a 1-inch service. The Building Department has no comment. The Fire Department has no comment. There are no letters in opposition or in support in the file.
Can I just add something to that?
Yep.
I thought the building commissioner did have a comment on this with regard to being in the flood zone.
I don't have it being in a flood zone.
It's not in the flood
That
zone.
Nursery Road's nowhere near a flood zone.
All right. I must have pulled the wrong one then, I'm sorry. I have to change all my notes.
Nursery Road is up near the Coonamessett Inn.
Yeah.
I think we're just trying to test the applicant.
Behind the church.
Okay.
Yeah, I just had the wrong one.
All right, Attorney Clower.
Kevin's
sorry.
fine. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. For the record, Kevin Clower. I am before you tonight representing Robert, Adam, he goes by Adam, and Ethat Newton, the owners of 151 Nursery Road. They are seeking permission to alter the existing non-conforming dwelling. So 151 Nursery is located not far from here. It's between here and the Coonamessett, as Mr. Duffy pointed out. It's really in the heart of what I'd call the village. This lot is 11,074 square feet, and it's in a residential C zoning district. Presently, there is a 3-bedroom, single-family dwelling with a small shed at the rear. Total footprint is 2,227 square feet, which is 20.1% lot coverage. As has been noted, it is non-conforming to front yard setback, being 21.3, where 25 is required, and also to lot coverage by structure, being 20.1, where 20 is allowed by right, and up to 25 by special permit. So the applicant's requesting permission to construct an addition to the side and rear of the home. This will not affect the existing non-conforming setback. However, it will increase the lot coverage by structure to 24.0%. It's an increase of 432 square feet, and it will, in fact, remain a 1-story home. So this proposal requires a special permit pursuant to 240-10.2A for alteration to a non-conforming structure, and also 240-11.3A4 for lot coverage by structure above 20% in the residential C zoning district. Under 10.2A, pre-existing non-conforming structures may be changed by special permit, provided the board finds that they're not substantially more detrimental than what exists. We're asked to consider the standards of 240-12.1E and whether or not the alteration creates any new dimensional nonconformities, impairs views and vistas, and reasonably conforms to the neighborhood. Our application does not create any new nonconformities or affect the existing nonconforming setback. Under 240-11.3A4, in the residential C zoning district, lot coverage by structure may exceed 20%, below 25% by special permit from this board. And in considering that, the board is asked to look at the size and height of the structure in relation to the neighborhood, the effect of shadow on adjacent properties, impacts on views and vistas from the public ways, and the effect of nitrogen on coastal embayments. We did prepare a lot comparison worksheet looking at 21 properties within a 300-foot radius. This is certainly not out of line with the surrounding properties. It is among the larger, but it's designed in a way as to be unobtrusive. The architectural design, I think, is actually quite thoughtful. It replaces the existing garage space, which the prior owner had converted to a bedroom, and runs it to the rear of the home. So there's really no massing from the street view. There is a slight increase in ridge height. The area of the addition will be at 20 feet, where the main house is at 16 feet, 10 and a half inches. However, that's still well below the 35 feet allowed by right. There's no impacts on views and vistas or shadows. They are going to utilize the existing septic, however, they're going to expand the leaching field. We are aware of the health referral saying that there may be a change in regulations, but this is not within a nitrogen-sensitive area or a coastal pond overlay. However, they did provide space that if and when they were ever required to convert to an IA system, they would have the ability to do so. So this proposal results in lot coverage by structure of 24%, which again, can be allowed by special permit. And with the issuance of that special permit would actually eliminate the existing nonconformity. So the threshold question for the board is, does the proposed use have adverse effects that overbalance the beneficial effects to the neighborhood and to the town? This lot is more than adequate in size. The proposal does not change the nature of the current use. It remains a single-family dwelling. It will just simply improve the owner's utilization of the property. There's no impact on traffic flow or safety, and it remains in line with the neighborhood character and does not affect public services. With this project, there's no new nonconformities created, and there's no adverse effects that overbalance the benefits. I believe that this meets all of the requirements of 240-10.2A4, 10.2A, 240-11.3A4, and 240-12.1E. I would ask that you grant the special permit, but would be glad to address any questions that the board or the public may have.
Mark, you got any questions?
No, I think the whole place is kind of a sleeper. I mean, the backyard there is
It's a big backyard.
quite nice,
Yeah.
and they have some nice plantings. I think what they've done here is, it does increase it, but it's kind of subdued. You can't
Yeah.
really, I think they've done a nice job.
I drive by it almost every morning, because I drive down nursery to drop my kids off at school. So every morning I turn to look at it, and I keep thinking how you're really not going to see it from the street, because it's going to run back.
No, everything goes back, and there's ample room in the backyard, and there's a nice variety of plantings back there. It's green as can be. It's beautiful. Yep, that's all I have.
Just confirm, 4 bedrooms?
Correct.
Thank you.
I'm all set, thank you.
Yeah, I'm good. Tony?
I saw what I needed to see, thank you.
Wow. Anybody from the public want to comment on this? Wow, we're rolling.
Just get over that first one. I don't know which cruise.
I know, I shouldn't say anything. I'm a Murphy. I jinx anything I can get my hands on.
It's the law.
It is the law. How about a motion to close? Anybody want to make
Make a
one?
motion to close, certainly.
We have a motion to close. Any further discussion? Motion to close. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Motion to approve with conditions?
Second that.
We have a motion to approve with conditions. All right, no discussion. Let's move on to findings.
Property is located at 151 Nursery Road in Falmouth. It's located in an RC zoning district. There's no applicable overlay district. Flood zone is X. We've applied for a special permit under section 240-10.2A and 240-11.3A4 to remove the deck and construct an addition to the garage and exceeding lot coverage by structure of over 20%. Now, they were already over 20% to begin with, so they do need the special permit relief. The existing structure is a 3-bedroom, 2,227 square feet. The proposed structure is a 4-bedroom at 2,659 square feet. The lot is 11,074 square feet in a zoning district which currently requires a minimum of 40,000 square feet. Street frontage is 85 feet in a zoning district which currently requires a minimum of 100 feet. Nursery Road is a public right-of-way at this particular location. The lot coverage by structure existing is 20.1%. They're increasing it to 24%. The limit is 20. So under section 240-11.3A4, we can grant a special permit to allow up to 25%. The neighborhood average per the worksheet is 14.68%. Lot coverage by structure, parking, and paving is 27.4%. The proposal is to increase it to 33.2%. The limit allowed by the zoning bylaw is 40%. There's one nonconformity to the structure, that is the front yard at 21.3 feet setback, it will remain the same. The existing height is 16 feet, 10 and a half inches. The proposed structure will be 20 feet. We have engineering referrals, which we will consider in the conditions. The Board of Health has reported that the four-bedroom plans have been approved for a four-bedroom septic system, which will require expanding the leaching field, and the applicant has advised us they will leave room for the future installation of an IA septic system if required, or an IA component to the septic system if required. Conservation has no comment. The Water Department requests an upgrade to 1-inch service. Building and fire have no comment. We had no letters either in opposition or in favor on file, and there were no public comments. Under Section 240-10.2A, the special permit for a non-conforming structure when we find that it will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing structure. Under Section 240-11.3A4, the special permit for lot coverage by structure exceeding 20% with a maximum of 25%, provided that the size and height of the proposed structure is appropriate relative to the neighborhood average. We make that finding. We make finding that there's no negative effect on shadows on adjacent properties. There's no negative effect on views and vistas from public ways, and that there's no negative effect for nitrogen on coastal embayments because of the appropriate approved septic system and this property's location. Section 12.1E, the general special permit criteria, we find that the site is adequate for the proposed use. It is suitable for the proposed use. No negative impact on traffic flow and safety. No negative impact on neighborhood visual character, views and vistas. There's adequate sewage disposal. There's adequate utilities, and there's no negative impact on affordable housing.
Wow, I need a break, huh? All right, conditions, short and sweet. Tony's sheet, per plans, all boards. Construction hours, 7 a.m., 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m., 4 p.m. on Saturdays, no Sundays or town-observed holidays. Construction vehicles shall be located within the lot. Dark sky compliant lighting.
Is there, given that the new structure becomes within 3 inches of the required setback, should we require an as-built? Is it 10-foot 3? I mean, it gets very tight, and those things easily move.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
As built.
Yeah, no, I agree. Any other you can come up with down here? No other sheds or anything, right? What are we at, 33? So they can. I think that's it.
Do you have any further conditions from the engineering referral?
The stormwater runoff, dry wells, and erosion and sediment.
Okay, because I was going to say, I didn't see any dry wells on the plan, so they're looking to have those added?
Put in all department requirements and requests as presented.
All department requirements are requests.
Yeah, it's just your usual.
So dry wells.
State those, yeah.
So dry wells are in there.
Dry wells, it's one of the conditions, one of the referral conditions of the.
I don't think there's any objection to adding dry wells to the property.
Okay.
Anything else, Noreen?
I think that's it. All set to vote?
Yes.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, none.
Thank you very much.
Great. I'm not touching anything over there now, so mess you up.
Well, we're all set for this one, we'll see how we go. Some of these cases get so big, and they take 5 minutes, but you got.
I know, these plans are big, that's why. All right, next up is 5 Indiana Avenue.
Okay, this is application 01125, Michael McGough, as applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit pursuant to section 240-10.2A of the Code of Falmouth Zoning Bylaw to raise and rebuild the existing non-conforming structure and construct a detached garage. Subject property is at 5 Indiana Avenue in Falmouth. That's Falmouth Heights, or Falmouth Beach, whatever. The zoning district is RC. They've applied for a special permit pursuant to section 240-10.2A, raise and rebuild a non-conforming single-family dwelling. I didn't find an overlay district, but it is in an AE flood zone 13. The existing structure is a 4-bedroom at 1,589 square feet. The proposed structure is a 3-bedroom at 1,559 square feet. There's no previous zoning board decisions on file. The lot is 5,615 square feet in a zoning district currently requiring a minimum of 40,000 square feet. Frontage is 75 feet in a zoning district currently requiring 100 feet. Indiana Avenue is a public right-of-way at this location. Lot coverage by structure is 28.3%. It will be 27.8% when complete. So they do need the permit. They're exceeding the lot coverage by structure. The average, according to the worksheet in the that's been submitted, the average in the neighborhood is 27.77% lot coverage by structure. Lot coverage by structure, parking and paving. Existing is 38.6%. It will be 36.8% on completion, and the limit is 40, so it's okay there. It is non-conforming in terms of setback. We have
I can run through all that.
Yeah, every side.
yeah, everything is non-conforming.
Every side. Yeah.
Everything is non-conforming.
To the east, it's 10.9%, the west, 12%, to the north, 0.2, not percent, feet, 0.2 feet, to the south, 28.5 feet. The height of the building is currently 23 feet, 3 inches. It will be 33 feet when completed. Engineering has commented that they will need a driveway permit. They've asked us to condition stormwater runoff, dry wells, and erosion and sediment control. The Board of Health has advised us that they have approved a septic system for that it has a septic system for 4 bedrooms. It's in a FEMA flood zone, and it needs Conservation Commission approval. And I don't believe you have that, right?
No, an RDA has been submitted for it. It's only Concom because of the fact to work within a flood zone, but that's an RDA.
All right. I didn't see a comment from water. The planning board raises the question of whether or not there's an accessory apartment over the garage. We'll let you answer that during the presentation. Fire department has no concerns. The building department.
Concern with the garage, right?
Yeah, the garage, I think it's been addressed, but Mr. Clara will tell us.
There was a water referral, Mr. Duffy.
Concerned that the proposed garage is 5 feet from the sideline, so the maximum number of stories is 1.5, but I believe you've made a change. Okay. We have 5 letters in support, 1 letter in opposition.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Again, for the record, Kevin Clower. I am before you with this application representing Michael McGuff, the owner of 5 Indiana Avenue. Mr. McGuff is here with us this evening. He is seeking permission to raise and rebuild the existing non-conforming dwelling. So 5 Indiana Avenue is located really in the heart of Falmouth Heights, which, as you all know, is a very dense, largely seasonal neighborhood, which is currently undergoing a lot of change. This particular lot is 5,615 square feet. It's in a residential C zoning district, and it is in an AE 13 flood zone. The applicant has owned here in Falmouth for over 10 years and has been a full-time resident in Falmouth for the last 4 years. He purchased this property in December of 2024 with the intent of building a home for his family. There's presently I'm going to call it 5-ish bedroom home and shed on the property. There appears to have been used as at least a 2-unit dwelling, potentially 3 units. It's hard to say. on a footprint of 1,589 square feet. It is non-conforming in many respects. The front yard setback is 4 feet where 25 is required. The side yard setback to the north actually encroaches over the lot line, so it's negative 0.2 where 10 is required. The side yard setback to the south is less than a foot. The lot coverage by structure is 28.3 where 20 is allowed by right and up to 25 by special permit. Further, there's a shed, which is an accessory structure located in the front yard, and it's way less than 50 feet from the street, which is, again, a nonconformity. The existing dwelling is in poor condition structurally, aesthetically, functionally. And while it's old, it's not in a historic district, and it's not on the list of historically significant structures, so it's not subject to review. It's really not possible to rehabilitate this existing structure without triggering substantial improvement under the FEMA guidelines. So the applicants propose to raise the existing dwelling and rebuild a new 3-bedroom home with a detached garage, which would have habitable space above, which would constitute a 4th bedroom. The first floor would be elevated in compliance with flood zone standards, which is about 2 feet above the existing grade. The detached garage would have no habitable space on the first floor, but would provide an actual garage space to decrease cluttering on site. There's a slight decrease in the footprint by structures. It goes from 28.3% down to 27.8%. The front yard setbacks improved from 4 feet to 6.9 feet. Side yard setbacks are improved. To the north, it goes from negative 0.2 to 3.1. To the south, it goes from less than a foot to 10.1, which is eliminated as a nonconformity. And it would also eliminate the nonconforming accessory structure in the front yard. Perhaps most importantly, it would eliminate the current use of the dwelling as a multifamily use in a single-family zoning district. As I said, it's unclear whether this has been used as 2 or 3 units, but what is proposed is a conforming single-family use, which is allowed by right within a zoning district. Lot coverage by structures, paving, and parking would remain conforming at 36.8%. The structure does increase in height. It goes from about 23 feet 3 inches to 34 feet 10 inches, partially due to compliance with flood zone, but it is 2.5 stories, and we would fully expect and be amenable to a height certificate of framing. The bedrooms, again, are being reduced from 5 or 6, depending on how you count them, which are presently on a cesspool, being reduced down to 4 bedrooms on a new Title V system. Again, this is not in a nitrogen-sensitive area or coastal pond overlay, so it has not been proposed as an IA system, but I have spoken with the engineer, and he's confirmed that it could be converted if need be. In addition, as I mentioned, an RDA has been submitted to conservation for work within a flood zone. Though we're improving all the nonconformities, this does require a special permit. Under 240-10.2A, pre-existing nonconforming structures may be changed by special permit, provided they're not substantially more detrimental than what exists. We're asked to consider the standards of 240-12.1E and whether or not the alteration creates any new dimensional nonconformities, impairs views and vistas, and reasonably conforms to the neighborhood. In this case, there's no new nonconformity created. A number of the existing nonconformities are improved, including, again, lot coverage by structure, front yard setback, significant improvements to the side yard setbacks to the north and south, and the elimination of a nonconforming accessory structure, as well as the elimination of a nonconforming use as a multifamily. There's no effects on views and vistas from public ways, and it is consistent with the neighborhood, as I will elaborate. Though I did not apply for a special permit under 240-11.3A4 because we're going to remain over 25%, I wanted to also review those requirements to establish that we do in fact comply with those as well. Under that provision, the board's asked to consider the size and height of the structure in relation to the neighborhood, the effects of shadow, the impacts on views and vistas from public ways, and the effect of nitrogen on coastal abatements. In this case, there's no impact of views and vistas from the public ways, though the building is larger. It is an area with many similarly sized structures. It's going to be an improvement on nitrogen and coastal abatements. We're replacing a cesspool and reducing the number of bedrooms down to 4. There'll be a new septic system designed for an appropriate number. And again, changing the use from multifamily to single. As to the size and fit within the neighborhood, we submitted a lot comparison worksheet looking at 32 properties within a 300-foot radius. As proposed, this is below the average footprint and very much in line with the average gross floor area. Of those 32 properties, 17 have larger footprints and 8 have larger gross floor areas. This property, as proposed, certainly appropriate with those nearby properties. As the board is aware, the plans were revised to shift the location of the garage. It is now 10.1 feet from the southerly lot line. We are also aware of the letter received from one of the abutters in opposition. Those abutters were actually the partial owners of this home when it was sold to my client, and they were aware of the applicant's intent and plans. There's a number of inaccuracies, I think, in their letter. Much of the focus was on a perceived inaccuracy in lot size, for which they rely on assessor records and the real estate listing. The lot size we used was based on the engineered plot plan, and regardless, it's a difference of 48 square feet. I don't think it's meaningful in any way, but it's also based on the civil engineered plan. There was a typo in the original lot comparison worksheet in which I mistakenly reflected the existing home as a one-story home as opposed to a two-story home. I did correct that on the revised lot worksheet that was submitted, but I don't think it's necessarily relevant to the discussion or changes the analysis. The letter states that we're applying for a variance, which we're not. As you know, we're seeking a special permit in which the primary question is whether what we're proposing is substantially more detrimental than what exists. It's hard to say that's the case because we're eliminating non-conforming use that those sellers took advantage of, renting out multiple units in a single-family home, as well as improving all non-conforming setbacks and lot coverage and eliminating the non-conforming accessory structure. This project represents a significant improvement over the existing conditions, replaces an aged cesspool and a house in significant disrepair, will not create any new dimensional nonconformities, improves or eliminates all existing nonconformities, including, again, the front yard setback, side yard setback to north and south, and lot coverage by structure. There's nothing about this proposal that is substantially more detrimental than what exists. I believe that we've outlined why it meets the standards of 240-10.2A, 240-11.3A4, and 240-12.1E. I believe that the board can and should grant a special permit, and I'd be happy to address any questions that you or the public may have.
You want to start off, Mark?
Yeah. Woven this together, I guess, within all the parameters. You know, it's certainly unlike any structure in the neighborhood, but I mean, I can't say anything about that any more than I can recommend what shoes or shirts they buy.
I think it's, it's not homogeneous, that's for certain, but I think it's an attractive design.
What's there,
Yeah.
and it's an improvement, and I don't have to bring other properties into the picture. No, I don't have anything. It's.
Could you pull up the front elevation just for the folks at home and here?
That is the front elevation. And we actually have, what I think might be helpful is some renderings of this property kind of in scale, which I think does a nice job of sort of outlining how it does.
It actually looks better than the elevation.
Yeah, I think, it fits in well. So, it's unique, that's for certain, but I don't think it's out of place. It's a different design, but I don't think you're going to drive down the street and go, what is that one?
Right. No, I agree. So 3 bedrooms in the main house, 1 in the garage for a total of 4?
Correct.
I guess the garage ridge height was 1811. The ridge height on the main house, is that 3410?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And as I mentioned, we'd be obviously agreeable to a height certification at framing.
Thank you for doing that. And you did improve the setback, so that was nice. IA space is there. No, to Mark's point, it's a nice change from kind of what's been there for some period of time, so thank you.
Frank, you have anything?
Yeah, I just want to clarify something, Mr. Clower. Are you applying for a special permit under 240-11.3A4? I didn't see that.
No, we're not.
You're not?
We're not. I thought it might be helpful for the board, though, to establish why this does fit in with the neighborhood, the same way we would do through an analysis under that provision. So the application's just under 10.2A4.
10.2A.
Yeah, 10.2A.
Okay, so the property has been used as multifamily housing. I assume that's been sort of illegal use?
I didn't find anything that would have allowed it, but I don't think it's relevant because we're not trying to keep that.
Because we're going to, it's
Yeah.
going to be a single-family house going forward.
Yes. And it is not, to clarify a question that came up earlier, it is not an ADU in the garage. There is no cooking facilities.
There's
no what?
There's no cooking facilities in the garage.
There'll be water service to the garage,
Yes.
right?
Yep. It's habitable space, absolutely.
It's habitable space, so there'll be bathrooms and whatever, okay. All right, thank you.
And as far as the multifamily, they're not the Lone Ranger in the neighborhood.
No, but if we can eliminate it, it's good.
Be eliminated.
Tony?
Yeah.
I know that this is not popular. I think the house is, well, this part I like. The house is tremendous. Tremendous improvement, I absolutely agree with that. And I know that we go around and around with this because it's never clarified, but 240-12-1E, D, and it says, impact on neighborhood visual character. This does not fit in the, it's a wonderful house, but under that, part of the bylaw, it doesn't fit. It does not fit the visual character of that neighborhood. And I bring this up many times in other properties, and I frankly don't know how to handle that.
Well, I think that you could look at it this way, Mr. Petrucci. That is one of the factors the board is asked to consider. It is not the determinative factor. And again, I think it's sort of an eye of the beholder question, because it is a slightly different design, but it's not, it borrows a lot of the elements that many of the surrounding properties do have. And you'll see inspiration for a lot of the architectural features in other homes very close by. So I think it's really, again, an eye of the beholder question. But more than that, I think it is not that we have to satisfy every condition. It's the board is asked to consider the following. And it doesn't say shall meet, it just says they're considerations.
Thank you. No other questions?
I have no questions. Anybody else have any questions before we go to the public? Anybody from the public want to speak on this? Come on up. Need your name and address, please.
Thank you. My name is Susan Daniels. I'm at 4 Hope Ave in Falmouth Heights.
Hope Ave?
Hope Ave. And I, too, had rebuilt my house in 2008, and we're excited about all the refurbishing, new construction, and all the great things that are happening in Falmouth Heights, right? And I agree that the house, 5 Indiana, needed to be rebuilt, and I think the folks in opposition, the Conrads, agreed as well. However, to Mr. Petrucci's point, this is way out of character with the architectural design of Falmouth Heights. It does not fit in, and it actually takes away from the uniqueness and the beauty of Falmouth Heights. So I've been here since 1959, and I think this is really, really unfortunate to put a structure up like this. And I would hope that the new owners could rethink and maybe redesign or a structure that really is more suitable to the neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a comment on this project? Come on up.
Madam Chairman, Manny D'Ambrosio, 77 Grand Ave. I'm at the corner of Grand Ave in Indiana on lots 2 and 4. I'm diagonally across the street from 5 Indiana Ave, which is lot number 5. I've been here since 1988. I have a house that was built in 26. I support this plan. I think it would be great, especially what we have there now. It was really what is there is an eyesore. The design, it's everybody's opinion as to what it is. It's well conceived, and I support it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Motion to close, Madam Chair.
Yeah, we got another.
Any further discussion?
Well, you got to.
What further to go? Tony has a question.
With regard to the design, it obviously, it bothers me because of subparagraph D. It says, with review criteria, within that paragraph, says, only upon its written determination that the proposed use will not have adverse effects that overbalance, and again, something subjective. What is overbalance? overbalance its beneficial effects on either the neighborhood or the town. Should I look at that this has more beneficial effects on the neighborhood rather than the design being not beneficial to the neighborhood?
That's exactly the argument I would make, that we've established a number of benefits that are being done by this project: elimination of nonconformities, elimination of nonconforming uses, improvements to any number of things, cesspool, septic, and it's a balancing test. And I think that we've established that the benefits we've outlined outweigh any potential adverse effects.
I like the house very much, I just don't like it there, but as I read this part of the bylaw, we're just here to apply bylaws, all right? As much as I'd like to see this someplace else, I suspect, given what's there, that there are more beneficial effects in the neighborhood than there are negative because of this.
Could you pull the rendering up one more time? Of course. It is better than the flat design in the application.
And, I mean, you take any side or portion of that house, and it's mimicked somewhere nearby. I mean, not in its entirety. I mean, it is different, but, I mean, look at what's there.
Oh, yeah, from what's there, it's absolutely a huge step up.
Well, it's not about design, I guess. It comes down to, does it create as it says here, is there a more beneficial effect to the neighborhood than, and I have to look past that design.
Well, knocking down what's there is a big benefit to me, in my eye. I mean, and I don't think it's our job to tell somebody how to, to micromanage, if you will, how they design their house.
No, I think it's our job to read this bylaw and determine what the benefit is or not. And right now, it appears, as much as I don't want that particular design there, that there is much more of a benefit to the neighborhood than a detriment to the neighborhood by this particular design. It definitely does not fit with the house next door or some of the others. But I have to consider, is it more beneficial than what exists? That's all. I don't want to belabor that. I can't. You have to speak to the chair.
I think the one on the end of the street that's condos is like Victorian-like. The other one across the street is like farmhouse-like. So it's kind of all over the place.
Yeah, but if you go down Nantucket, there's
it's all kinds.
Features on houses that are similar, and I mean, let's face it, what's there is an absolute eyesore.
Yeah.
And overall, I look at it as a benefit.
All right, anybody else before we close? Come on up.
I just want to emphasize that I agree that the new structure is a benefit to the neighborhood. Do I need to say my name again? However, that it is clearly not in line with the bylaws that you just spoke about, and if we're to roll on this, right, what's going to happen to the uniqueness of Falmouth Heights? Because I do disagree that there's, like, a lot of different things, because, again, I've been here since 1959, and everybody that is rebuilding is doing it very much aligned to the uniqueness of the neighborhood in a very tasteful manner. I do not find this tasteful to the neighborhood. And I would hope that there could be some concessions made to really bring this in line with the neighborhood, because if we just let this go, then what happens to the next one? Then we lose the beauty and the uniqueness of Falmouth Heights. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
May I say something, Madam Chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
When you listen to that argument, which I don't disagree with, because I am struggling with this, that I have to agree. You do one, and then there's another one, and there's another one, and you lose the visual card. That's a beautiful, well, it truly is a beautiful area up there, and you lose it. And that's what's partly wrong with our bylaws, is that we have a lot of things that become subjective to the person sitting here, and we have to use our best judgment and apply these bylaws the best way we can. And I truly struggle with this. I wish that there would be concessions, but I don't see how that's going to be done in a house like this. This is very specific, very stark. I don't know what to say. I could certainly vote against it, but you still have if there were 4 more, it would certainly pass.
I mean, it's not my favorite by any stretch of the imagination, but honestly, I just don't see where we can
Tell them what color to
dictate.
paint their house.
Yeah, it's
Well,
their
I think that
house.
you can under this bylaw because it is subjective to that. You choose not to do that, that's perfectly okay, because that's your right as a member here, when you read this, and use your best judgment. I can't disagree with what you're saying, other than we do have a right to look at
Yeah,
all of these things.
but I mean, you're almost quoting like a subset, or what, I mean, I just don't see enough there to vote against it.
Yeah, when I drove around, I saw all different kinds.
Yeah.
I saw front porches, some without front. I saw all,
And they're,
all
like I
different.
said, you don't have to go far, and there's features there that are elsewhere, not far away.
There are other neighborhoods further down where the FEMA is requiring even higher, and those are really different
Changed,
styles all over the place. Okay,
Everything that's going up there, most of it is going up,
yeah,
Yeah.
and
because of FEMA.
within a very
And I mean-
close walk, there's a number of new buildings that are quite
And-
high. They approach the 35 feet.
And you see how these renderings look better than the print, and I would submit that when the thing is done, it's going to look even better. I mean, it's not going to be everybody's favorite, but like, I don't think we can
And
dictate how they
another
build their house.
beneficial part is the single-family dwelling now, too.
That's what I'm trying to see,
That's
the
a
balance
benefit.
here, so I don't vote no on this.
Yeah.
You're up.
I'd make a motion to close.
Second.
We have a motion to close in a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Scott?
Motion to approve with conditions?
I'll second.
Okay, for finding. Properties at 5 Indiana Avenue in Falmouth Heights, owned by Michael McGuff. Zoning district is RC. They've applied for a special permit under section 10.2A of the Falmouth zoning bylaw to raise and reconstruct the existing non-conforming structure. There is no applicable overlay district. The flood zone is AE 13. There's no previous decisions of the Zoning Board of Appeals applicable to this property. The current use of the property is a multifamily where only one is allowed in the zoning district. The existing structure is a 4-bedroom with 1,589 square foot footprint. The proposal is for a 3-bedroom, 1,559 square foot footprint with a detached garage and 1 bedroom on the second floor of the garage.
Correct.
So a total of 4 bedrooms. The lot size is 5,615 square feet in the zoning district that currently requires 40,000 square feet. Street frontage on Indiana Avenue is 75 feet in the zoning district, which currently requires 100 feet. Indiana Avenue is a public right-of-way at this proposed location. The current lot coverage by structure is 28.3%, which exceeds the limits of the zoning bylaw and also the allowed limits that we're trying to go to 25%. The proposal will be, the proposed structure will cover, structures, I guess, because there's 2 now, will be 27.8%. The limit is 25, excuse me, is 20. And according to the worksheet submitted by Attorney Clower, the average in the neighborhood is 27.77%. Lot coverage by structure, parking, and paving is 38.6%. It would be reduced to 36, did I say 38.6%?
Yeah, 38.6 down to 36.8.
36.8. The limit of the zoning bylaw is 40. There are multiple setback violations resulting in multiple nonconformities of the property. Some will remain.
I think they all improve.
They all improve a little.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Yeah, they're
I think a little.
Yeah.
a little, but
Yeah.
they're still not going to be a
No.
conforming structure. The height is 23 feet 3 inches. The proposed structure will be 34 feet 10 inches, 2.5 stories. The engineering referral notes that a driveway permit may be required, stormwater runoffs, dry wells, and erosion and sediment controls. The Board of Health has advised us that they have approved a septic system for 4 bedrooms. And Conservation notes that this is in the FEMA flood zone and will need conservation approval. I didn't see any comment from the Water Department, and I read the Building Department's comment, but that's been addressed by Mr. Clower in his presentation. There were 5 letters in support, 1 letter in opposition. There's one person testified in support, 1 person testified in opposition at the hearing. The current use of the property is multifamily. The proposed use will be single-family. The multifamily use will be discontinued. The applicant has acknowledged that they will remove the shed from the property. The garage will have a habitable space on the 2nd floor. The applicant is to submit a height certificate at the appropriate time and will need Conservation Commission approval. The provisions under Section 240-10.2A is that the proposed structure not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing structure. The general conditions for a special permit under Section 240-12.1E are that the site be adequate for the proposed use. We find that it is adequate, it is suitable for the proposed use. There's been no testimony of negative impact on traffic flow and safety. With respect to neighborhood visual character, we acknowledge that the proposed structure is of different architectural style from the neighborhood, but not unacceptable. The sewage disposal is been approved, there's adequate utilities, and there'll be no impact on affordable housing stock.
Nice.
May I ask a question, Madam Chair, on the findings, because I'm not sure I heard it. Have we, with regard to 12.1E decision review criteria, in our findings, have we determined that the proposed use will not have, it says we have to do this, will not have adverse effects that overbalance its beneficial effects on either the neighborhood or the town? Is that in there? I mean, it says that we're supposed to do this. It says special permitting granting agency.
Well, but then when we make a decision on the various component parts, that results in a finding.
That's what happens?
That's what happens.
All right.
That's the result of all of the findings that we make.
Yeah.
All right, so then 12.1E, I just want to bring order to this. This truly bothers me when this happens, and I want to have a standard by which we can follow through on a consistent basis. This is going to happen again and again and again.
It does, all the time, but if we can make a positive or affirmative finding on the criteria in 12.1E, we can make that ultimate determination that you have.
Kind of have to look at it as just one piece of the puzzle.
Oh, I agree, absolutely. Just trying to find order.
I had the garage at 11.6, if I'm correct. 6 inches?
10.1 off the...
10.1? Okay.
And then, one other finding, I want to make sure.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because it's per plans, but do we have to notate that there'll be no kitchen in the garage?
We can do that in conditions.
All right, do it in conditions.
Yeah.
No cooking facilities.
No cooking.
No cooking.
Is that the right terms?
Because you have a sink, you can have a fridge, you just can't have a stove or other heating element.
Yeah, we'll do that in the condition, okay. Any other findings? Noreen, any other findings? Moving on to conditions?
Maybe some, but.
You want the height?
The height certificate, the multifamily use to be abandoned, to be used only as a single-family dwelling, they'll remove the shed. The garage habitable space, as Tony's mentioned, there'll be no cooking facilities, the height certification, and they need Concom approval.
No further structures?
And the sheds to be removed.
And let's go to the regular, and the conservation condition, because he
Yeah.
hasn't gone before them yet.
That's one of the conditions, they need approval.
Yeah. Shall go with conservation when he gets, and all plans, per plans, all boards, department requirements and requests. Police for traffic control, that might be needed. Construction hours, 7 to 7, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 on Saturday. No construction on Sunday or town-observed holidays. Construction materials shall be located within the lot. Dark sky compliant lighting. Any other ones?
As-built, because where sidelines are very tight and roof
Yeah.
height is within 2 inches.
Yeah, he
So
just said that, yeah.
when
There'll
we
be an
say
as-built
at-
at foundation, just to,
Well, I want to just make sure it clarifies something. I mean, when we say as-built, for me, an as-built is just a foundation plan. But in this case, where you're within 2 inches of max height,
Right.
you have to have as-built elevation as
Right.
well.
The frame.
Yeah. 4-bedroom, 3 and 1. The third floor, we did see that, must remain open.
The 2.5 stories, it's
Right.
got to be less than 1/2 of the
Yeah,
total.
third
but
floor.
I think per plan we'll address that because.
Right, I think you're right.
It's quite evident.
We can do it as a separate one, though, just to keep it alive anyway. I think that's it. You think of anything else, Noreen?
Say there was or was not a water referral?
There is
Yeah,
a
there
water
was
referral.
one.
There was?
Garage needs separate line, is all I saw.
I have it here, Mr. Duffy, if you'd like a copy of it.
Okay.
Here, I saw it in there.
Fine.
Per town referrals.
Yeah. You think of anything else?
No, I was just going to say.
Yeah, I saw
you
it
need
in
To
there.
comply with the typical water
Yeah.
department.
Okay, I think we're in good shape. You all right with that one?
Yep.
So we're all set to vote, everybody?
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None.
Thank you very much
All
for your
right.
time and
Good luck.
consideration of this one.
Shoehorn that one in.
All right, moving on to 3 Tonsett Road.
Okay, this is Appeal 014 of 2025, 3 Tonsett Road, North Falmouth. The owner is Mary H. Feeney, trustee. She has applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit under Section 240-10.2A and 240-11.3A4 to construct an addition over the existing garage. As far as an overlay district is concerned, we have a search and rescue district. The flood zone is VE 19. The existing structure is a single-family dwelling, 3 bedrooms, 3,025 square feet. Proposal is for a 3-bedroom, single-family dwelling. Again, same structure, same footprint, 3,025 square feet. We have on file an administrative approval of the Zoning Board of Appeals in 2016 for a new deck, which I think increases the lot coverage by structure to 23.7%. The lot size is 12,100 square feet in a zoning district currently requiring 40,000 square feet. Street frontage, which is kind of strange because it goes around the whole property, because this has frontage on 2 streets. 216.6 feet, there's only 100 required. I'm not sure which is the front street, is it?
It's a corner lot that has 2 fronts.
All right, anyways, that's okay. This is a private street. Lot coverage by structure is currently 23.7%. It will be increased to 25%. The limit is 20, but we can grant by special permit up to 25%. According to the worksheet submitted by the applicant and Attorney Flower, the average lot coverage by structure in the neighborhood is 24.13%. Lot coverage by structure, parking and paving is 32.5%, will be the same when it's finished. The limit is 40. The setbacks are conforming to zoning. The building height, didn't see that. I had trouble reading that on the plan.
You aren't the only one, brother.
It's 22.31.
These plans were,
22.31?
what was your term, wonky? Wonky.
And it's going to be the same when it's finished? No?
Yes.
Okay, same. Okay, engineering has asked us to look at stormwater runoff. The Board of Health was okay with the septic system. The Conservation Commission approved an order of condition on July the 10th, 2024. Water Department had no comment. I have no letters in opposition or in support on file.
Before I start, Mr. Duffy, there was actually another administrative approval that wasn't part of the application package, because when I submitted the application, it hadn't been issued yet. So I'll submit that to the file.
What is the number of that?
59-24.
All right, we have administrative approval, case 059 of 2024.
I'd be happy to review.
And it's dated March 18th, 2025. It's just right off the press.
I'd be happy to go through.
What does it do?
So that allowed for an increase in lot coverage by the addition of a pool and some modifications to the deck. So the allowed lot coverage, or the currently approved lot coverage right now is 25.0%.
25.0? Okay.
Okay.
So it's going to stay the same?
It is.
Okay.
Good evening again.
Is this on file?
Well,
we can keep that?
Yes, you can keep that. I didn't submit it with the application because it hadn't been issued yet. We applied for that quite some time ago, but we had some problems with our plans that needed to be rectified. So we had planned on phasing this, which is still what we're doing. For the record, Kevin Clower. I'm before you right now representing Mary Feeney, the owner of 3 Tonsett Road. I'm joined tonight by Paul and Jack Gallagher, who are the general contractors on this project. Ms. Feeney is seeking permission to alter the existing non-conforming dwelling with a modest expansion.
Kevin, I'm not letting you get away with talking about this house.
Well, I haven't gotten there yet.
Come on now, I did Sunset for my site visit.
I haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
So don't steal my thunder.
All right.
The ground floor is really the basement level, and the second floor is really the first floor. So when I say first floor, I mean the uppermost level. So it's a modest expansion of the first floor living area over the existing garage, entirely within the existing footprint. 3 Tonsett Road is located just north of Seacrest. It is a pretty dense, still largely seasonal residential neighborhood with perhaps the most stunning sunset views in all of Falmouth. I can think of 1 or 2 other roads I'd put up against it, but it's a toss-up.
Yep.
This lot is 12,100 square feet. It's in the residential B zoning district, and the dwelling is within a flood zone. So presently, there's a 3-bedroom, single-family dwelling, which, as I've mentioned, recently received administrative approval for a pool and alteration to the decks, which increased the allowed footprint to 3,205 square feet, which is lot coverage by structure of 25.0%. So it is conforming as to setback requirements. However, the lot coverage by structure, even though 25%, has been allowed by administrative approval. So the proposal is a modest addition. Again, it's an expansion of the living area on the first floor over the existing garage, entirely within the existing footprint, and it allows for basically increased utility and functionality. It's a more living area. They're going to eliminate one of the existing bedrooms and relocate a bedroom into that area. The ridge height will remain 22.31 feet. That's unchanged. The expansion will be in line with the existing ridge. The proposal does not impact any of the existing setbacks or change the lot coverage by structure or the lot coverage by structures, paving, and parking, which is still going to be 32.9%. The bedroom count will remain at 3. Due to the existing nonconformities, well, due to the lot coverage, in fact, we have some administrative modifications on this. It's not really a nonconformity. It requires a special permit pursuant to 240 10.2A and 240 11.3A4. So at the risk of boring you, I've gone over this a few times, but 10.2a, pre-existing non-conforming dwellings may be changed by special permit, provided they're not substantially more detrimental than what exists. And as you're supposed to consider the standards of 240-12.1e, and whether or not the alteration creates any new dimensional nonconformities, impairs views and vistas, and reasonably conforms to the neighborhood. In this case, there's no new nonconformity created. There's no change proposed to the lot coverage by structure or the lot coverage by structures, paving, and parking. There's no changes to the views and vistas, and it does conform to the neighborhood. Under 11.3A4, lot coverage by structure exceeding 20% up to 25.0% is allowed, but it requires a special permit. And the board's asked to consider the size and height of structure in relation to the neighborhood, the effects of shadow, the impacts on views and vistas from public ways, and the effect of nitrogen on coastal embayments. I'd point out that the reason the last administrative approval didn't require a special permit is because there was no habitable space being created. It was just a modification of the decks and a pool. And I think in an effort to keep items from clogging up the board's agenda, Ms. Stockman was willing to do that administratively. Here, we did provide a lot comparison worksheet. This is clearly not out of character with the surrounding properties. It's actually well below the average footprint and gross floor area. There's no increase in ridge height, so there's no impact on views and vistas or shadows. There's no change to the footprint or the overall ridge height, and as all work is within the existing space. There's no increase in the bedroom count, and there's no negative effect of increased nitrogen in coastal embayments. This project, as proposed, represents an improvement for the owners. It adds useful, habitable space, improves the functionality of the property, and is by no means substantially more detrimental than what exists. There's no new dimensional nonconformities and no change to existing nonconformities, setbacks, or lot coverage. For those reasons, I believe this meets the requirement 240-10.2a, 240-11.3a4, and 240-12.1e. I would ask the board grant the special permit, and I would be happy to address any questions that you might have at this time.
Want to start off down
The
there?
only question I got is, are you ever going to bring us prints like this again?
Don't do that.
Sort of like we don't get to choose paint colors. I don't get to choose who does the plans.
I mean, I honestly, I found it easier to read if I got out, stood on my head. But other than that, it's well within reason. I mean, they're just throwing a bedroom over the garage, but I mean, I still can't decipher the handwriting there, but anyway.
That's the rear elevation up in the right-hand corner.
Yeah, and some of the things don't actually match, but I mean, go crazy with your pencil.
Oh, Lord.
No questions. Nice little project, so thank you.
Frank, you have anything?
Thank you.
Tony?
I love the script. I haven't seen this kind of script in 40 years, but I can't read it. But,
Last time I saw that, I was in my pyramid.
I have to bring this up. I mean, you were just outside of the coastal pond overlay district in the Mass DEP nitrogen sensitive area. This plan says C septic plan. I can't tell. You putting an IA system in?
I don't think they're putting in a new system.
Not in that area.
Yeah, we're not.
Conventional.
Yeah, but it's we're going to comply with whatever the health department requires. This project started, quite honestly, quite some time ago. Even before some of these new regulations started coming into effect or even being discussed.
I normally would not ask if someone's not in a coastal pond overlay district, which this is not. But I am asking because of its location, and obviously we cannot mandate that. But I like to ask people if they understanding our problems here in town.
It's going right into the ocean. Never going to be a demand for.
I don't know that because I don't know ground gradients. I don't know any of that, but I bring it up to be consistent, Mr. Clower. and I try to be-
Heard.
Motion to close?
No, we have to ask the,
Oh, God, okay, you want
anybody from the public.
I think they're in
All two of
favor.
you.
I think they're in favor.
Either of the public like to
They're
speak.
technically not the public. They're the builder.
They're technically kind of public.
He's the builder.
He has a vested interest.
Motion to close?
Second. We have a motion to close in a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of closing? Aye. Opposed, none? Go ahead, Scott.
Conditions.
Second?
We have a motion to approve. Second, let's go, Frank.
Okay, the property
Finish
is
it
at
up.
3 Tunset Road in North Falmouth. The zoning district is RB. They've applied for a special permit under section 240-10.2A and 240-11.3A4 to construct an addition over the existing garage. The overlay district is search and rescue. The flood zone is VE19. The existing structure is a single-family dwelling, 3 bedrooms, 3,025 square feet. The proposed structure will be the same. There was administrative approval in 2016 for a new deck, which increased the lot coverage by structure to 23.7, and then there's an administrative approval in March of 2025 for a plunge pool, which increased it to 25%. The lot is 12,100 square feet in a zoning district currently requiring 40,000 square feet. The frontage, as I reported, goes around, it's a double front, 216.6 feet, 100 required. Tunset Road is a private right-of-way at this location. The existing lot covered by structure is currently 25%. It will stay at 25%. The limit is 20. We're allowed by special permit to permit up to 25%, according to the neighborhood worksheet submitted.
Mr. Duffy, if I could, maybe we could say that it's currently 23.7, but approved at 25.0.
Okay.
What does that mean?
The new neighborhood average is, because the pool's not in?
It's approved, but not installed.
Okay, fine. Then the neighborhood average, according to the worksheet, is 24.13%. Lot coverage by structure, paving, and parking is 32.5%. It will remain the same. The limit is 40. The setbacks will not be changed. There are no setback nonconformities. The existing height of the building will remain the same. It will not change, and it is conforming. The engineering referral asked us to consider stormwater runoff, but that's probably already, that'll be included, the stormwater runoff concern.
I think it's already addressed.
The Board of Health has approved a septic system for the 3-bedroom house. Conservation Commission has issued an order of condition on July 10th, 2024. The Water Department has no comment. And we received no letters in opposition, no letters in support, and there was no public testimony. With respect to section 240-10.2A of the zoning bylaw, we find that the proposed addition will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing structure. And with respect to the general conditions for a special permit under section 240-12.1E, we determined that the site is adequate for the proposed use. It is suitable for the proposed use. There's no evidence to suggest there'll be a negative impact on traffic flow and safety. There'll be no negative impact on neighborhood visual characters, views, or vistas. There's adequate provisions for sewage disposal. There's adequate utilities serving the site, and there's no negative impact on the affordable housing inventory.
Nice. Conditions are pretty easy. Shed to be removed.
No, there's no shed here.
Oh,
That was the last one.
That was the previous one.
Oh, it was already removed? Okay, thank you. Oh, I just read it in the file. Okay, per plans, all boards, all department requirements and requests, police for traffic control, they do their own policing up there big time. Construction hours, 7 to 7, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 on Saturdays, no Sundays or town-observed holidays. Construction vehicles and materials shall be located within the lot, not in the street. Dark sky compliant lighting. The rest of this, I think that's it. Anything else, anybody? 3-bedroom? Anything else, Noreen?
Yeah, so they'll just need a cert at completion to make sure that the lot coverage is still
Okay,
conforming to the limit.
that sounds good. Anybody else, anybody?
Do you know if that propane tank is installed? It says proposed, right?
It is not yet. It's going to go in the same time as the pool, so they're going to dig that.
Okay, so you'll need approval from the fire department
Yes,
for
yeah,
that?
there's a permit application in at the moment, which is waiting for that.
I didn't see that in there.
Just for the board's edification, we have 2 streets like this, and there's a curve what you do is you split the curve so that each road gets half of the curve so that you can calculate a street frontage that way.
But it conforms, so
Yeah, it's fine.
FYI, like
I'll
that.
call you the next time I encounter
Please
this.
do.
All right, I think we're ready to vote. Everybody ready? Yes. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, none.
All right. Thank you all very much.
Thanks.
Appreciate your time tonight.
Okay, so now we got an administrative approval.
We have one now?
Is this just for our edification?
Yeah, that's just for us to add to the file.
Okay.
Ash will stamp it when she gets it. So we're moving on to minutes. Are we doing any?
We are doing minutes for January 23, January 30, and February 13.
Wow.
Motion to approve, January 23, January 30th, and February 13th of
Second that.
2025.
I'll second. Everybody's
That
good
would
with
be a
all those?
third.
Aye.
Aye. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Zoning administrator updates. She feels better. She feels better.
I'll spare you.
Thank you.
I'll update you next meeting.
Board discussion. Are we still doing May 3rd? Can we bring May 3rd up right now?
Sure.
Are we doing May 3rd for our workshop? Everyone's doing May 3rd, okay. 9 o'clock
Yep.
here.
I
Okay.
think Nick was the only person we've not heard from, so we can check back with him, or if he's watching us.
Okay.
So, okay.
Have a sign-up sheet on the first.
Yeah.
Board updates? Future agenda items, that could have come under May 3rd. And our next meeting is May 1 at 6 PM.
Yay, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.